Kinda.
More like trying to film something.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live. We are fresh back from the Bassmaster Classic, and what a wild week it was. We had the whole crew down there. We saw everybody. We saw so many great subscribers that really I was so pleased and honestly moved by all the people that I saw and was able to meet and talk to down at the Classic, and I'm going to share some of those stories with you. I want to, welcome you guys to the show. If you're watching us over on Facebook, come on over, join the program. We're offering our Classic specials going on right now. We'll tell you a lot more about that, but it's 50 days off, 50 days free right now. And, man, it's great to be back. It's great to be back. It's great to be live. And I got GDP with me. I didn't expect to have you. I thought you were going to go right to Chickamauga.
I came home for you guys.
Well, the love. I feel the love. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, anytime.
I appreciate it. It was great to watch you. We were all pulling for you at the Classic. Man, it's a monumental thing.
Dude, it was unbelievable. Really was.
Well, we're gonna if you guys have ever dreamed of making the Classic, and if you've ever bass fished, you've dreamed of making the Classic, this is going to be a great opportunity for us to talk about it. You can talk to Greg, get your questions asked, and we're going to talk to him about what that experience was like. And we in the back, pushing the buttons, making it happen. As always, we got BTC and the Riz back in town.
What's up?
Yes, sir. We're back, baby.
We're back, man. We just did this for 3 straight days, and here we are doing it again.
Yeah. I'm glad we're doing it again too. We filmed at the Classic. We were only live, on social from time to time, and we talked to the greatest anglers in the world. We talked to them all weekend long. The list is as long as my arm. And BTC was running around like crazy, getting all these interviews together for us. Riz was busy talking to people and talking about Bass University.
And spreading the gospel of the Riz Tour.
And you did a little Riz Tour, too. We got to talk about that tonight, too.
Did we? Yeah. No, anybody that stopped by the Bass University booth this past week in Birmingham, Alabama, and hung out with us, thank you for stopping by. It was great to meet a lot of people that, I knew from the show, I knew from the message board, but putting faces to names.
That was cool,
yeah,
right?
It was really cool because when I'd hear the name and it would click, and a lot of other people as well that maybe had no idea what BUTV was. Are now on board with us, and we're super stoked to have them with us as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some great stories. Can I tell one right now, Brian, or we got to tell it later?
You can tell one, Pete.
Tell one real quick story. This is an amazing story. Father came up to me, and very emotional. You could see the tears welling up in his eyes, and his son had been playing other sports and got injured and couldn't play anymore. So his son was looking for something to do, and he said, Dad, I want to bass fish. And Dad didn't know how to bass fish. Nobody in his family had any experience with this sort of stuff. So he's looking around for a resource to help him, because his son is devastated, and he wants to do this. And he found us, and, he told me how important it was that not only he was able to teach himself how to fish, how to teach his son how to fish, and now him and his son are go bass fishing and have success and catch them.
That's a good story, dude.
And thanking me as the Bass University to for putting this program together for him.
There's no better way to do it, man. That's for sure.
That was an awesome feedback, and I got tons of stuff like that. We work so hard to bring this content to you guys, and the best content, the stuff that is really, really credible, so that you're not going to be chasing your tail out there, with information that is not the good stuff. This is from credible sources like Greg that have made it to the next level. They're really going to help you catch fish, and it was so awesome to run into all those folks out there. But we've got Riz, we got a ton of specials and giveaways going on tonight.
Yeah, we do. We have a Facebook like and share package tonight for anybody that's over on Facebook and you're not coming over to Bass U TV. We want you to come over, but if you won't, there's a Facebook like and share package that consists of Bass University official gear. That's 2 hats, a shirt, and a neck gaiter that's valued at $80. So at the end of tonight's show, we're going to announce the winner of that. So anybody on Facebook, please like and share our feed.
Absolutely. We all got to like and share the feed right now, too.
I'm doing it.
We're also having a grand prize tonight for a Ken Duke trivia question.
Oh, no, that's a Brian the Carpenter trivia question.
Oh, that's a BTC.
Whoa.
That's a Brian the Carpenter trivia question. And our grand prize package includes a Rapala prize pack of baits, 2 Bass University official hats, and a Bass University shirt. So that's our grand prize tonight. So that's the benefit you get if you're over here with us on BassU.tv, in addition to getting your questions answered all night long on the show.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Jerkbaits, baby.
Yeah, well, there you go. We didn't discuss that. Not only do we have the classic champ here, but we're going to be diving in Bass University style. We're going to be diving in deep on the technical components of jerkbait fishing, soup to nuts, how to make it work. Hank is a master at it. It seems like every time he's in the winter circle, that bait's nearby, and he's come so close to the classic before. But we're going to be diving in modifications on jerkbaits, water temperatures, rods, reels, all the good stuff.
I think it's fair to say Hank's probably one of the best in the world on a jerkbait. Seriously.
I think he put an exclamation point on that just this past week. If anybody was ever in doubt, here it is. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say it. He's the greatest jerkbait fisherman out there right now.
That's awesome.
And
I want to learn, man. I'm curious to see what he's got to say. I really am.
Yep. Well, we all are, and he's going to be with us here shortly. And you guys that are subscribers, you're going to be able to get your questions answered right now. You're going to be able to talk directly with Hank, and we'll pass all those questions along. Speaking of which, we got some right now, don't we?
We do. We have a question here, but I wanted to give a few shout-outs to some people that are on the message board here with me. The Unique Rockers for Life, Riz's Stinky Live Wells, D. Burke, Shep, Sean, Jay Shad, Jack W., Dave Hall, New York, Chris, Nick. They're all hanging out with us on the message board tonight, so we appreciate you guys.
Where's the hoagie lady at?
He's not. She's not here yet. But our first question comes from Nick, and Nick wants to know what your tournament plan of attack is when you're pre-fishing. So pre-fishing for a lake, what's your plan of attack? And Nick's going to win a Rapala Ripstop for that question.
Yeah. Why don't you just come off of a practice,
well,
Greg?
I'm gonna tell you this, and this is on tape actually, because we did a BU prior to going to the Classic. You guys asked me about Classic practice, and the spot that I actually fished was from my pre-practice. What I found in pre-practice.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Do you remember we talking about a ditch running through a grass line?
Yeah.
That's where I fished.
No kidding.
I found that months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and I pulled up on that. Was the last thing in practice I pulled up on, and it was loaded.
Wow.
It was so textbook after I looked at it.
How, did you find it with your side imaging?
Yep. I was actually idling out of a spawning area, and as I'm idling out, I looked down at my side imaging in the grass bed, and I saw a ditch running through it.
Right.
Yep, and that's what kind of keyed me into what's going on in practice this time around.
And got you into the third day of the Classic.
Yeah, man. Yep.
That's rarefied air, my friend.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, awesome.
I told you this, and Brian, I don't know if you knew this, but I talked with Ken Duke, and he gave me the exact number. But a little over 600 people have ever competed in a Bassmaster Classic in 50 years.
600?
600.
Yeah, I knew it was a small number.
Yeah.
That's tiny.
600 have made it.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
crazy. Very
And
prestigious.
and I bet you cut that down to the people that have been able to fish the last day at the Classic. That probably cuts it down even further.
Real small.
Yep. So it's awesome that you had that experience, and we're going to be talking with Greg. Like you said, we're going to dive in a little deeper. But the question was about how do you prepare, and you prepared by using your Humminbird side imaging.
Yep.
What units are you running?
I'm running the Solix this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Ooh.
And that's I mean, it's like you could have identified that from the back of the boat, right?
Yeah, dude. The units nowadays, especially on the Solix, are just incredibly just awesome. I mean, every which way you look at it. And once I actually came and started practicing, you know, for me, I think I said it to you actually. I put the trolling motor down. There were so many fish in this area. I can see them on my 360. There were so many of them. You
Wow.
know, if it didn't get mudded up, it would have been a different story. 100%.
Did you have grass on the area when you came back, or
All eelgrass.
and was it there when you found them in pre-practice?
Yes, all the grass
It was
there.
still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. This spot was so textbook. After I look at it now, like it had like an island, and just outside of the island, behind it were 2 spawning flats, and this was kind of the ditch, the route, the highway
Wow.
that the fish were staging at.
Right.
You know, at the time I didn't realize it until when I went back this time. I looked at my graph. I was like, holy crap, this is the area. And
Right.
they were there.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, that's a great answer, and I mean that's such a practicing for an event, especially these days, with the advancements in electronics,
Mapping.
it's so important to spend time with your electronics. You can find that stuff. You can find humps, drop offs, rocks, hard bottom, soft bottom. There's so much that you can find by getting behind the steering wheel and spending some time doing that. So that's very, very important in your pre-fishing. I think it's very, very important. And in the cold season, man, I'm telling you, the baits that I have, and of course, I feel like I'm cheating because I watched everybody else do it.
Yeah.
But it's lipless crankbait, it's suspending jerkbait, and you got to add to that the vibrating jig, and you got to have a jig as well. They're probably my 4 best cold water tools.
Agree.
That I'm going to be using in a early season pre-spawn type of tournament to get after it. And there's just something about now Gunnersville's just, they love it there so much, the jerkbait, and they love the lipless bait. And boy, we saw them both shine.
Oh, yeah.
Especially red.
Yeah.
Yeah, red was absolutely key.
Yep.
And I want to invite you, one of the best seminars to learn how to practice for a tournament is Brian Thrift's seminar titled exactly that, how to prepare for a tournament. That's available over on bassu.tv right now.
Right, and guys, that's the kind of thing you get with bassu.tv that you're not going to get anywhere else. Arguably the hottest or best angler in the world right now, giving you a full-length seminar on how he prepares for a tournament. So if you're on the fence about it, that right there is what should be to convert you over to get with us.
Yeah, you got to go watch that. And as well as Brian, to bring him up again, and he talks about how to use his Humminbird. He shows us how he uses his 360 in conjunction with his side imaging. Really enlightening stuff. And he will never take that 360 off of his boat. It's like his huge advantage.
Me either.
It is in the hole.
Yep.
And so that's how we're going to practice for the tournament. Great question. Who was that again, Rich?
That was from Nick.
Nick,
thank you for that outstanding question. You won yourself a Rapala ripstop, but you need to send me your customer number in order for me to get that. So please send me your customer number.
All right, Brian, we're going to take a quick break.
Yes, I've got a little piece here from Bassmaster from what year was this? This goes back to 2014. This was uploaded to YouTube, but this is
2013 Classic.
yeah, this is the 2013 Classic. This is Zona sitting with Hank. We're gonna roll this, come back, take a couple questions, and get Hank right up. So we're gonna have Hank Cherry on in a minute.
Guys, on this break, if you haven't gone over to BUTV yet to subscribe, this is your chance. Head over there, take advantage of our awesome deals, and get your questions answered on the show.
And watch this clip. This is amazing. Amazing stuff. We'll be right back after this.
On a tear for a couple hours. And as we had it calculated, potentially in the lead on that final day, walk me through what was some of the toughest footage for any of us. I'm sure it's brutal for you. Walk me through that big one.
If you watch earlier, I lose one that's about 4 or 5 pounds that I didn't really get it till catch up to it till it got to the boat. I said, well, that's a good fish. It's a good bite. I'll come back through.
That was the first one you lost.
Yeah, and I came back through that same point. I said, I'm not going to make it on the flat side this time. I want to hit the tip coming off. And when I threw up, as soon as I ticked the rock and it come off line, just laid slack. And the only time it does that is when a big girl gets it. They don't kill it, not in that cold water. They just grab it. And that line laid slack. That might be him. That might be him. Oh, God, stay down. Oh, God, stay down, stay down. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God, stay down. Please, God, stay down. Stay down. I pulled back, saw she had the bait. She came by the boat. Couldn't see the bait. She came out from under the boat. It kind of bill flipped out. So then she had the one hook in there. And then I was trying to keep me off the rocks, her away from the rocks. She kind of came up on her side, 5 feet away, and the rest is history. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Keep off the rocks. Keep off the rocks. Come here.
We didn't get to see that fish. What did that fish weigh?
If I said it was less than 7 or 8 pounds, I'd be lying.
Is that right? Have you seen the footage?
I've seen the footage, but I tell you the truth. Look, I'm a positive guy. It took me a long time to get here. I'm not using it as a negative. I'm using it as a positive. I've had that drive. I've had the opportunity. I've tasted, and I was close to it. We're so close. So I'm going to use that as my drive to get back to Gunnersville.
Wow, that's like a prophet right there. You know,
Yeah.
Going through that. Oh my gosh, it just broke. It broke all of our hearts.
It's painful.
That was painful.
7 pounder, and it was the one. It would have won the classic for him back in 13. And
You can just feel the emotion.
Oh yeah.
Like and when we were on the floor this past week for BU, there wasn't many times where I felt like I needed to stop and turn around and watch the TV. But the one moment that I did is when Hank had that 4th fish hooked, and it was a big one. And you could just feel in his voice when he got his hands on that fish in the boat, just the raw emotion coming out of him. And I'm standing next to Justin Kimmel, and I looked at him, I said, the hair is standing up on the back of my neck right now, because you could feel that all that pain that he experienced in 2013, now it's coming out of him in the other direction. And to make things even better, he had dropped a fish about 20 minutes ago
Big one.
right, I saw
on
that.
the same stretch. Big one. It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. That's why bass fishing's so amazing.
And you could feel the pain and suffering, you know, that you have to go through to be the champ. And this is what had happened. I'm surprised how he kept it clean, though, too. You know?
Him, same.
He's got something he was probably going to talk about about that. He had mentioned it in all the comments and on stage, so he'll probably say it.
All right.
Somebody said something to him, and
What?
he used it as fuel. He'll probably say it.
Well, you ask him if he
Yeah.
doesn't, if we skip past it. But
Yep.
I've been there in that situation. I never forget a fish that I lost on Kerr Reservoir in a FLW tournament, and it was a fall tough tournament, and any fish at all were hard to come by. A 8-pound limit gets you up there in the top 20, you know. And I had a bona fide 8 to 10 pound bass on a shaky head under a dock, and I hadn't seen a fish in that caliber ever, you know. And he got from me to the camera maybe 15 feet away, and jumped, completely breached, and his head was as bigger than any fish I ever caught on that lake. And he jumped and threw my shaky head. And my shaky head went flying, and then I went flying. I did just what he did, except I didn't keep it clean.
Good.
But I mean, you can't help, you know, because it's a game. It's a game change. We use that word all the time, but that fish would have changed it for me. It would have won the tournament for Hank, and we all go through that if you're going to play this game. You know, it's you know, getting that fish in the boat. I mean, it's not enough to be able to battle the elements, pattern the fish, find the fish, outthink your competitors, but you got to execute. You got to get those fish in the boat. it's necessary in
It's-
order to get in the winner circle.
It's crazy. It really is.
The pain and suffering. I love that clip, and
a
I hope
sport.
Hank doesn't mind us showing it because it was pretty. It's a pretty powerful, emotional clip. But boy, what he was able to do and recover from that, turn just like he said, like a prophet. Talking about how he's gonna, he's a positive guy. He's gonna use this as fuel,
Yep.
and turn this around, and that's what he did.
Before we get to Hank, I actually got a question from Dave Burke on the message board, and he wants to know from Greg and Pete. He's experiencing an ice out right now on his home lake. The ice is just starting to go away to the point that he can get his boat on the water.
I can't believe you got ice this year.
Yeah, well, he must be up there. He must be north.
Yep.
What's the first thing he's throwing at those fish under ice out conditions?
You want me to go, Greg?
Go for it, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we talked about. It's just like what Hank was throwing them. The suspending jerkbait. The suspending jerkbait and the lipless crankbait are going to be my number one, number two tools. Those are classic ice out baits, especially if you're up north. You probably got smallmouth there too, and everything can really light up. I've used actually ice lines, like if it's not completely ice out, sometimes you can fish the ice edge, and it's a pattern. But no doubt it's going to be that. Those are going to be. I mean, other tools can be real effective. Sometimes I'll use a hair jig in the extreme cold scenarios. Sometimes I'll use a variety of tools. But if I had to pick my two, that would be it.
I would say too. If I added one more, probably a swim bait. That's about it, honestly.
Yep.
Yep.
Ice out. Ice out's a great time. I just
time.
saw Zona with a picture of a giant bass on Insta.
Really?
Getting Insta famous over there on fishing ice out when he got back from the classic.
Smallmouth?
No, big head.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Fishing them up north.
The champ is here.
There he is. Guys, I don't think we want to wait even for one more second. I know you guys don't. We're so excited to have him here. Look forward to talking to him. This is the 2020 Bassmaster Classic champ, Hank Cherry, with us tonight. Hey, Hank.
How y'all guys doing?
Man, we're doing great. I'm so excited that you could be here with us tonight. Man, have your feet touched the ground yet?
Yeah, they've touched the ground. It's still really weird, to say the least. I mean, it's enjoyable. There's kind of been a whirlwind of stuff going around. It's overwhelming myself. My schedule has gotten significantly full over the past couple days, but I'm prepared for it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I bet not, man. It's we were watching it and pulling for you. Now I know you saw. Well, I don't know if you saw, but we played a clip before you came on of the 2013 Classic, where you had that loss, that that 7-pounder that came off and cost you the Classic, and you had an amazing line that you're going to use this as fuel. You're a positive person. You've got this close. You're going to get back again. Man, you're a prophet.
Well, I don't know. Either that or I'm real lucky. Can't tell you which one. It's one of the two. But no, this is the prized possession we're all chasing, and I'm very honored that this is in my house. And every day I wake up, I go in the living room and make sure it's still there. And make sure it's still there.
Well, it was a great win. A rare thing is you went wire to wire. Coming out of that gate with 29 pounds. I was watching live, and you went in early that day.
Don't blame him.
Did you order pizza when you got back to the dock?
No, I didn't order. I didn't order pizza. I just I really didn't know what else to do. I had caught a few other fish that just would not help, and I didn't want to burn anything up.
I understand. It's every time I catch 29 pounds, I come in early too.
But yeah, I've only done it one time, and it was in the Classic.
It's a good time to do it.
Yeah. This is definitely the time to do it. It hasn't happened for me yet, but some of the things I watched, like we were at the Classic and we had a great Bass University booth. We got to talk to everybody, so we didn't get to watch that much while it was happening. So I was able to watch the last couple of days. And one of the things that really interested me is your conversation. This seemed to be your backup pattern that you won the Classic on.
Well, pardon the cough. I don't have the coronavirus or the flu or anything. It's just allergies in North Carolina. Mine are terrible right now. It was my backup pattern. It kind of developed the official day of practice, I guess. And once I saw the weather forecast, I had made my mind up what I was going to do. And to spin that around, that morning of official practice, I had a little trolling motor glitch, so I had to go back to the ramp. When I got back to the ramp, the Garmin guys got me going again. Took a couple seconds. I put the boat back in, and I said, I'm just going to go down these rocks to make sure everything works. And I went down the rocks, and about the fifth cast, I caught a 5-pounder. And I looked around, and there was nobody in the field anywhere around. And then I kind of graphed around in there and saw the abundance of gizzard shad and saw plenty of fish sitting around. And I knew that if I put my head down in that area that I'd be able to fish, because the backside of the causeway would be like a block to wind for me. And I'd be able to present my baits the way I wanted to. And if no other competitor was in there, I had a captive audience.
And we were surprised at least I was. I mean, I didn't see that many competitors in there. It's such a well-known area. It's won before, lots of local stuff. And I was surprised. Is it possible those fish weren't using those rocks like earlier in the practice rounds and they just started to show up at the exact moment your trolling motor got fixed?
I don't have any idea. I think they live there constantly. That place obviously gets as much pressure or more pressure than any place on the lake. And probably right now it's getting pressure as we speak. But I just do know historically a lot of fish come through there. They dispersed down the causeway back to all the grass flats in there. And it was just the perfect storm for me. The wind, it kept me back there. The first day, the 29-3, which wasn't expected at all. That actually came off a little grass flat where I caught one little male in practice and had one other bite that I thought was a good one. So, but I just think that area is just so full of fish, and it just got overlooked.
Man, well, what was the primary area that you thought you were going to win? What was that pattern?
Well, I had a couple high spots around the mouth of Seabold. I caught a 911 off one of them the last unofficial Sunday, like the last fish I caught during practice, and I was pretty jacked up about it. It was just a high, clear spot in the grass. And then the other places were just various little points in and around Town Creek. But I knew by the wind direction they were going to get pounded. And see, you had to deal, and Greg could tell you had to deal with all the floating eelgrass. The further you got away from Browns, the more eelgrass there was, and that was substantially a problem.
That's a massive. Well, it's a big problem when you're trying to throw a jerkbait.
Well, anything with a treble hook, just trying to make a clean cast, it's just hard to do.
It was bad.
Yeah,
real bad.
What did you do to overcome that? I mean, you had less of it there in Browns where you fished, or did you just have some tricks to get around it?
Well, the front side, the way the wind blew the first 2 days, it clogged it up pretty good, so I didn't really get to fish it that effectively. But on the back side, there was none. And the little spot where I caught the big bag the first day, where I caught the majority of the fish, it had no eelgrass. The only place I found back there that really had no eelgrass, it just had short, stubby hydrilla, say maybe 3 inches tall, with hard bottom all mixed in. And that's what they came off of.
Gotcha. Well, it was, you started out, so you fishing this rock, you got 29 pounds of fish. You're sitting in pretty good condition. But I saw some interviews with you, and you really were focused, man. You just seemed like, all right, I've got a lead, but I know better. I'm gonna keep a level head. I still got 2 more days to go.
Well, I did, and I knew that I knew just by some keys when I kind of played around that first day, when I pulled in a couple pockets and I caught some fish off docks, I immediately had hundreds of docks that I thought I could run to and catch a fish just from experience being there. And I really truly thought the last day when I ran to those docks at 2:15 and I caught 2 out of the first 3 that I fished, I really, really thought that I had screwed up.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, I could see that, but and I heard you say that. Like you felt like if you were going to win this tournament, it would be the docks that caused you to win it.
Yeah, I honestly thought that, but I just had this feeling, and I just kept repeating over and over in my head, especially that last day. I was like, look, dude, make them catch you. Make them catch you. Put everything in the boat. Make them catch you. Make them catch you.
That's a great mantra, and I know I've made that mistake before. You did the heavy lifting on day one. You know, you did the hard work, and a lot of times I've made the mistake to try to go out and duplicate that, but in order to, when you get that front runner position, a lot of times you got to do what you did, which is just be steady.
Yep.
Just be steady, and the guys can't catch you.
No, and I was at peace with it, with my plan. I was at peace with it, and I already told myself, look, go out and do what you can do the best you can do. Get 17 pounds. All right? If you get more than that, great. But if you get 17 pounds, somebody has to have a heck of a day to beat you. And then if they beat you, you just take your hat off to them, and you go home proud you did your best, and hats off to them. But like I said, the plan came together. And it felt really good about noon that last day to catch that second big one. It felt really, really good.
Well, you went through some hard times. We were talking about it. Riz and I were just talking about it. You lost some key jerkbait fish, 7 years ago, and we saw you miss one. Did you have flashbacks? Did you have to work hard to keep a cool head? Like, oh man, here we go again. What was going through your head?
Well, the one the last day really didn't hit home as hard as the one I lost about 2:15 the second day. It was an absolute giant. That I'm sure you'll see. I don't know if you saw it live, but I'm sure you'll see it on the show. It was a great big one, and it come off, and that really, really upset me. But to make a long story short, I was telling the story in the parking lot, and Paul Mueller cut me off. And he said, Hank, I'm just going to tell you, when things are going right, the devil's going to try to step in, and he's going to try to take control of what's going on. He's like, you've got to kick him out of the boat, tell him you ain't got time for it, don't let him mess with you. So that third morning when I lost that fish, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I was thinking, devil, get out of the boat. I don't have time for you. I got business to do.
That's awesome. And you kicked him out of the boat. That's I heard that Paul had said that to you, and that's tough to have that mental toughness to be able to battle through that stuff. How do you do that? I mean,
probably scared him out of the boat. I mean, Hank, I see you get fired up. I don't think you're a guy that the devil wants to mess with too much if you're keyed up. I'm just saying.
I'm very passionate, and I was trying to be as composed as possible, but a lot of build-up excitement, I guess, when I caught that first one the last day, it just came out. And I'm sorry if I scared a couple people. I think I made a couple of the guys watching on the rocks jump a little bit. But
good. Wake them up, baby.
Let's go.
I was as jacked as I could be, but I had to just calm myself back down. Just had to calm down and just do my job.
Take us back over to the last day. Now you held the lead. You're just, they got to catch you, and you did your job. You came in with a solid bag. Did you know you had it won? Did you think you had it won? Did you think you'd done enough at that point, or was it still up in the air for you?
I didn't think I'd had it. I wasn't sure that I had it won, but I had known in my head that I had dotted all my I's and I had done my best. That I knew. And then I guess a couple of the guys kind of gave it away when I came over to the ramp. They started congratulating me. And it really didn't hit me until I picked up my phone, because I always call my wife when I get off the water just to let her know I'm in, okay, everything's great. And my phone, Instagram messages were just, there was like 3,000. Congratulations, good job. And at that point, all I'm thinking is, get these fish checked in, keep it between the lines for the hour and a half drive all the way back to Birmingham, and then be prepared to wait. And I think waiting in the lot was by far the most difficult time of the whole tournament.
What was that like? Take us through that. Did you meditate? Did you what did you do while you were waiting?
I go back and look at my fish. I would just
They're still there.
thinking in my head of all the scenarios, what could happen. I never thought about like what I was going to say, how I was going to react. I was just so caught up in the moment, and everybody kept coming by and was like, dude, you're like emotionless right now. And I was just in my head thinking that I have accomplished something that I set a goal to do so long ago, and the memories of all the stuff that happened, the good, the bad, just to get to that point, it was just building up inside, and I just could not wait to finally get them to the scales.
That's amazing. I know I've just like you said, Rich, on those long drives when you got to go to weigh in the fish, I'm like, man, I hope they're still there. I hope I didn't lose one.
Yeah.
The live well lids
Right.
pop open.
Did I close that lid? Is it latched?
I was more paranoid when I had to get them out of the live well that one would have jumped out into my live well, and I was going to take 4 up there. So I kept looking the whole time away. Every time the boat would move up, I would look. I was like, are you in the bag? We're in the bag. We're in the bag.
How many times did you count to 5?
Probably 25 times just going around that little circle.
That's
Hey,
incredible.
well, big shout out to Bass Cap Boats because they got that latching lid on the live well, which I'm sure, which would have given me a lot of peace and comfort when I was making that trip.
Definitely.
What do you got, Riz?
We have a question on the message board here from Warren, and Warren would like to know, Hank, jerkbait fishing can be physically exhausting at times. Share a little bit of tips on how you get through a day fishing a jerkbait most of the day.
Well, one thing I always do in the morning when I know it's going to be a jerkbait day is I drink a bottle of liquid IV. They're not a sponsor. It's just a powder you put into water and you drink it. It's got lots of electrolytes, so that really keeps your hands and your wrist, your forearm from cramping up and having issues. But you have to just have it in your mind, not stay tense, not try to grip the rod real hard, and you just have to stay with it and keep focus on the task at hand. I've just noticed when I'm jerkbait fishing, if my mind drifts, my cadence gets screwed up. I'll miss a fish. The boat positioning isn't right. There's a lot that goes into any technique with any bait, but I think the mindset of going out that you're going to catch them jerking, because a lot of people say it's the hardest fish to catch because it's not on anything. It's just kind of out there in the open. I just think you got to have that mindset and mentally toughness. You just got to have it. And it's a high risk, high reward presentation. That's the best way I can sum up jerkbait fishing.
I noticed your cadence was a cadence that you see a lot of times. It looks like you were jerk pause. That seemed like that's what you were doing all the time. Is that true, or did you mix it up?
No, it was pretty much that. I would pause a little longer when I would see one kind of show interest on the live scope, or if I saw a good sized dot around the gizzard shads out in front of me. My pause, with the way I had the bigger hooks on the jerkbait, when I would pause, that bait was falling at a pretty good rate of speed. I mean, it wasn't falling like a 1 ounce jig throwing it through the water, but it was still going down pretty good.
Any suspended strips on there as well?
No, I changed the stock hooks on it to number 5 Berkeley Fusion EWG medium shank. And what that does is it just gets the bait to fall. Now, really the tip with that bait that I was throwing, which was the 110+1, when you're getting it down and you think you're getting in the strike zone, if you'll kind of take your rod and instead of having that towards the water jerk kind of come up a little bit, you'll get that transfer chamber to send that ball to the back. And when you think you've got it right and you kill it, what you'll learn from practice, that bait will go tail down, and it'll actually increase the rate of speed. So the next time I go to jerk that bait back, it pops right back up to where it was, and that's when I get a lot of strikes.
Wow, you know that you say that, and I watched that happen because that and typically the bite happens when it pauses, but I saw you get those bites on that first twitch after the pause you were setting up.
Mm-hmm. And that was basically that bait coming back to where it was, how 3 seconds ago. I think that initial just like a fly in your face slapping at it, and they would get it. And I like it when they get it that way because majority of the time they get the hooks really, really good. The only time a jerkbait bite really scares me is when they hit it while I'm jerking it. That's just hard. I know everybody that's done it has had that feeling where you're going to jerk and then you just jerk 5 feet of slack and you got to reel and catch up. That's usually a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a hard fish to catch.
Hank, when you say it's a bad sign, do you mean a bad sign of the way that they're biting it or the way that particular fish has it in its mouth?
No, it's usually just a bad sign of catching that fish because you have so much slack line, you've got to catch up, re-drive those hooks through it. And by that time, he shook his head. And most of the time, in my experience, when that happens, which it happens an awful lot, smallmouth fishing, they're almost airborne before you ever get tight. And that's a really, really bad sign.
Yeah, that's a tough fish to catch. But we're talking about tricking out that bait. You doing anything else? Like, are you using a clip you tie directly to the split ring?
No,
what are
I
you
tie
doing there?
straight to split ring on every jerkbait.
Gotcha.
I know some come about, and some guys like a loop knot. Some guys use a clip. I just like straight to the split ring. Another little quirky thing that I like that most people don't. Say I get in 5 baits of the same color, and I cast them out, and say 3 of the 5 run straight back to me when I reel it back real fast. Those 3 I usually just throw in the box, and the 2 that came back crooked are the ones that I want to fish with. I don't think that I have a jerkbait that I'm actually going to go fish a tournament with that you're going to throw out and be able to wind it straight back to the boat.
Wow.
Well, wait a minute now. So these are coming out. You're looking for ones that come out funky out of production. That I'd never even noticed that.
Yeah, if I can cast it and reel it back at a high speed and it tracks straight back to me, I don't want to throw that bait. Because if it's already crazy coming out, I can't imagine what I can make it do once it gets under the water.
How about it?
Well, at $30 a pop, I'm going to keep that one too. But that's so amazing. I didn't realize that with that product line that you can see that differentiation.
That's good.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. What I noticed about you fishing this is the line. You were pretty aggressive with that line. I'm like, man, what's he using? Is he using 12 or 14? What pound test were you using?
I was using 15-pound, 100% fluorocarbon.
It's
Berkeley Trilene.
Berkeley Trilene, 100%.
That's pretty dense, right? So does that go into the way that you were fishing it? You wanted it to keep it up a little more, or tell us about that?
I throw 15 about 98% of the time now. With today's hooks, the technology's gotten so good, and the way I like to throw the beefier hooks on there, I lessened up on my rod. I go heavier on my line, and when I hit them, I've just got the mentality now, the longer he's in the water, the better the chance he's got of getting off. And with that 15-pound line, I don't break it. I have complete confidence in it, and I just get them to the boat. And my bites have not decreased at all since I switched.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing because it seems like such a heavy line, like with the 10-pound test. That's what we've all, used in that early season, and because you get more action and all that stuff. But I get it, man. When you get the bite, you want to get them in the boat.
Yep, and I will not throw 10. People laugh at me, but I will not throw 10, and especially like around any kind of rocks or not. Because if I made an Eric cast too close to the rocks with that deeper diving bait and me pausing, if I'm banging off the rocks, I don't want to take a chance at any nicks.
Huh. Wow. Speaking of your setup for your jerkbait fishing, you spoke a little bit about your line, but Clay on the message board would like to know your rod and reel setup.
Well, I love the STX 7-3-1 for jerking. And the rod is the new Veracity 610 medium light. I think it's more of a medium. They call it a medium light, so whatever. It was the medium light version. at first glance, when you pick it up, you may not think the action is right, and I was kind of on the fence about it. I know Pete's gotten rods before. He's like, huh? But then I fished with it, and I noticed my hookup ratio and my land ratio was just incredible. And usually I was always a 7-foot medium. If it's not a 7-foot medium, I'm not going to throw it. I'm not going to throw it. But I've gotten to where I'm just so comfortable with that rod that I've caught 7-pounders jerking on it. I mean, if they're not breaking it, they can't bully me around. It's plenty of rod.
Bottom line is your strike to catch ratio means everything.
Yeah.
You know, so
Definitely.
if what you're doing is not losing fish, don't change a thing. If you've got a big classic trophy,
You did something right.
you got the right setup.
Now, Hank, do you put the red hooks on like Pete Glusick?
No, I'm not a red hook guy.
Okay.
I never have. I never have been. Now, I am, especially in late early spring, I am a red jerkbait guy,
Ooh.
but I'm not a red hook guy.
But I noticed you did catch a couple red crankbait fish, but you didn't use a red jerkbait this time. You were keyed up on a shad colored bait.
Yeah, and that's just because of where I was at in the depth. I think had I been in town on those other points, actually one of the points I planned on spending a lot of time on was the one where George Cochran won years ago. Those shallower fish, like I'd say, in that 6 foot of water over top of that grass, that red was going to be the bait. It just wasn't quite as effective out there around all those shad.
No kidding. So the shad colored was the deal when you were around the shad. Well, it certainly was in that situation. I've seen it sometimes with that red that you need it in the shad so that the fish can find it, but not this time.
Sometimes, but not this time. It was just a perfect match, I think, for the situations. And when I caught the first couple on it during the tournament, and they had it, all 3 hooks, I was like, this is the color. We're good.
Wow.
Did you the forward looking sonar, how did that play into your day? I know you mentioned it a little bit on you saw some things, but did you see all the strikes or did you see any of them?
I would see some when the wind blew too hard. I would just make sure I was getting the right line on the cast as I'm looking forward. I was basically just trying to follow those big balls of gizzard shad, and throughout the day, it took them longer on that third day, but as they got closer to the rocks, my bites picked up. But for some reason, at 12:30, 1 o'clock, all of a sudden, the gizzard shad would just kind of just disappear. I don't know where they go. They must have gone out deeper. But I would pay attention to that. Like the 7.2 that I caught on the crankbait towards the end of the day, the first day, I saw it. There's places on that causeway where rocks have fallen off and created like little underwater points. And I saw one big ball sitting right on the end of a big rock that had fallen down. And that's when I made that long cast with that crankbait. And I saw that I was getting ready to hit it. And I just turned my head. About the time that I turned my head, I just felt my rod go the other direction. And I knew that it ate it. I was just praying to God it wasn't a drum.
Did you catch any drum?
I caught that great big drum the last morning right after I caught that 6-pounder. I thought that I had a 10-pounder and it was done. And then I got that big sucker to the boat. I don't understand how they get the jerkbait with that mouth underneath their head. I guess they get on their belly and come up and eat it. I don't know. But he had all the hooks in it. He kind of tore it up a little bit.
Yeah, they'll mash your hooks and turn them sideways. What do you got, BTC?
Aaron Daniels from Facebook. Back to those straight running baits that coming out of the box. Do you ever mess with them and try to get them to run crooked? Do you ever fool around with that?
I do. I will mess with them some. And some baits that come straight out of the pack, once you change the hooks on them, they'll divert left or right. I don't know if anybody's ever known that, but lots of times when you do it, even with a crankbait, you go up the size of hooks and all of a sudden you've got to retune it because it'll take that bait a little bit left or a little bit right. But I'll play with that. Now, generally speaking with my jerkbaits, I usually play with the front and the back hook. I usually don't play with all 3 of them. This was a totally different situation. But to answer the question, you can you can throw them off a little bit. I mean, I have caught fish and been successful with the baits that come straight out of the pack. I just like those baits that are a little odd. Like some of my favorite flat side crankbaits are baits that you really can't. You cast it one time and it goes left, and you'll cast it the next time and it goes right. That I just kind of like those oddities in baits.
Yeah, they're hard to find today because the manufacturing process has gotten so tight that getting irregularities is not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, the technology that we have today going into baits across the whole fishing world is just amazing.
Hey, we've got Hank Cherry on the line, guys. Any questions you have about jerkbait fishing, winning the classic? Our IAM board is lit up, and I know Riz sees you guys over there because he's raising his hand. Bring your questions for Hank, and we'll get him on the air. What do you got, Riz?
Matt E. on the message board.
Matt E.
Hank would like to know, what are some key factors that influence your cadence on the water, and how do you know when it's time to change your cadence when you're jerkbait fishing?
All right, cadence is just cadence is more of a mental aspect of fishing a jerkbait. It's what you're confident with. Not all the time what's working for me is going to work for you. You just have to decide what kind of mood you think the fish are in, and that could change, when the sun's low, when the sun's high, when it's back to the other side. But generally, when the water's cold, I'll just give an example like pre-spawn. When the water's cold, there's generally going to be two ways that I think are going to be the most effective. One is going to be the rip, rip, rip pause, rip, rip, rip pause, where you're just trying to get a total reaction strike of fish that are just almost ready to feed up to go to the bed. And then you're going to have that kind of like I was doing, where you kind of rip, rip, let it sit, rip, let it sit, rip, rip. People get into counting and all that stuff. Look, I'm not that bright, and I don't have that much patience to sit there and count to 12 and let my bait fall. I mean, if I get a backlash, it's going to fall very far. But I think a lot more. I think you put a lot more into it than you have to. I think it's just getting comfortable with what's going on, and when you get a bite, just remember what you did and try to duplicate it. When I take people and I try to show them or for them to get a rhythm, it's going to sound kind of stupid because I tell a lot of people this. You kind of think of a song in your head, and the easiest way to, I think, to accomplish that, the song is the Addams Family. The da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. I mean, I just think that's the best.
Yes,
I think that's the best way.
good.
That's a good learning spot.
That's a great song, man.
I like it.
I love it.
I was thinking he was going to go with "Staying Alive" or something, right?
No.
Yeah. Mine's always brr, brr. That's
That's definitely smallmouth pattern.
Yeah, right.
that's the cadence from your high school marching band, by the way.
So I got a couple of questions for you, Hank. The first question is, so are you always throwing jerkbaits with a casting chamber, number one?
What's that? I didn't quite hear you.
I said, are you always throwing jerkbaits to have a casting chamber? As far as the way the ball's moving, to get that reaction you're talking about.
I think you need to have that chamber, because I think one of the big things about throwing a jerkbait is getting it away from the boat.
Okay.
Getting it away from any commotion you're making.
That's good to know. And second is, a lot of guys, including myself, not so much myself, but a little bit, when you're talking about messing with hook size, and let's say you're doing a really good solid pause on your jerkbait, are you worried about that jerkbait angle in the water when it sits, as far as just sitting?
No, I'm not real worried. I'm not real particular on the way it's sitting, unless I think I'm getting to the strike zone, like I said, and then I will give that snap upwards to get that thing to fall down.
Okay.
That tail down thing is something I learned from a couple old guys at Lake Hickory here in North Carolina 26 years ago. That's back all the way back into, this is probably before you, Greg, with the Spoonbill Rebel days.
Yeah, I don't remember none of that stuff.
Yeah, and they would wait. They would wait them to fall that way, and it's just something that stuck with me.
Dude, that's a great tip, man. I actually did not, I knew about the chamber, but I had no idea that's how you were fishing it. That's good to know.
Well, explain that. Now, you explained that earlier, but you put the hooks on there. How do you get that weight to the back of the bait so that you know it's falling? Does it just happen through normal cadence, or do you have to do something to make it do that?
I'll usually as I'm fishing, if you'll watch me, I'll give kind of somewhere in my cadence. When I know I'm going to have an extensive pause or I think it's where it needs to be, I'll give it kind of an upward jerk to where that bait, instead of going like this, goes, and then it falls back. And then when I go to rip it again, it's right back to where it was.
Is that next rip another up jerk, or is that just a regular jerk?
I pretty much just rip straight back into it because of the way the bait's sitting.
And that brings it back up.
It pretty much brings it right back up.
Okay.
Wow, that's a great tip, man.
And I noticed about when you're doing that too, man, you're not really getting into it. It's a mild twitch. You know what I mean? You're more twitching it than jerking it. In this tournament.
Sometimes less or more, but like I said, going back to the live scope and spending a lot of time on Lake Norman here, especially this winter, and watching my bait, I'm actually seeing the depth range that I'm covering and my pauses, and okay, it's getting down this far, this, that, and the other, and I'm putting that in my bank all the time in case the scenario comes up and I need it at a certain depth. So, I spent a lot of time tweaking and making sure that I know what it's doing when I've got it in the water.
Well, that's
Seems like it.
Yeah, that's pretty unique stuff, and I'm learning a lot.
I did too. Really did.
Learned a few little tips on how to do it. And the most important, of course, is the Addams Family theme song. That's a new one to the world of jerkbait fishing.
So Hank, when you're throwing your jerkbaits and you're actually picking your depth of a jerkbait, are you more or less graphing around, and if you see the bait at a certain height in the water column, or are you more or less focusing on that bait more than anything to where like they're looking up at something? Is that kind of your key?
I'm trying to figure out where the majority of the bait is swimming in the water column. That's the first thing. And then that's the area that I'm trying to target. A lot of people have called and texted how come I wasn't really up on the rocks and throwing straight down the rocks, because I don't think they were necessarily right on the rocks. There's a pretty good contour, and I can see the mapping good on my units and how it lays and how it kind of falls off. And those fish, the majority of them would be sitting in like anywhere from 6 to 9 foot of water, mostly over 12 foot of water. And that's the target range where in my head, when I thought my bait was getting there, then that's where I kind of really slowed down and tried to entice those fish to come get it. Now, there was one particular fish that I caught the second morning off one of the actual points on the riprap that I saw it when I threw out, and I got my bait at about 5 foot, and when I killed it, I saw it at about 15 foot, and it was just started coming up. And I just let my bait keep going and going and going until they almost collided. And then I just gave it a little twitch, and as soon as I twitched it, the rod just straight loaded up, and he had all 3 hooks.
That's awesome. The use of the electronics, the new technology that's available out there, it's changing everything, and it changed it obviously for you. You got any more tech questions?
I got one more, just because it's something I've always heard, just to see if it's true. Because I think if you say it's going to be, I trust your answer. So you always, yeah, I do. I mean, you always
the trophy to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. You always hear about, you're throwing a jerk bait on your whatever your jerks. You want the rod tip to go directly back to the jerk bait. Is that true, or are you more or less just slacking it? What are you doing besides the actual?
I don't think that's I don't think that's very important. And if you watch me, something that I do, I mean, this is probably kind of dumb to give this away, but when I throw, as soon as my bait lands, I always hit my trolling motor to make the boat go forward, right? And the reason I do that is because when I come off the strike zone and I'm working my bait all the way back to the boat, my bait actually has to turn and hook back to the boat. And if you notice, and you'll see on the show, I caught a lot of fish when that bait would change its direction.
What?
So I never actually typically just want to throw straight and bring it straight back to me.
Wow.
I know that's weird, but it's something it works for me.
Wow, dude.
They work good. Can we redo the classic? Ready to go again.
Wow.
Craig's dialed now. He wants to get back out on that riprap.
Well, but, hey,
Yeah.
but Greg was in a place that I thought that had really potential until the mud came.
Agree 100%. I thought the same thing. I thought I could win the tournament.
We were talking about it earlier. That was a creek channel, and some guys actually especially later in the tournament, did pretty good there.
Yeah. Todd Alton did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Creek channel turn amongst the grass flat.
Yep. A lot of stuff going on back there. That Browns Creek was hot.
That you're talking about jerkbait fishing. We saw guys clobbering them. They were swallowing lipless baits. The vibrating jigs was a big deal. What was it? Water temperature? Was it the shad that keyed you in? Just your overall confidence in the jerkbait? What made you go that route? As opposed to one of those other tools.
Well, it's just the confidence. The first day, I caught them on the bladed jig. I don't know why those fish never really showed up back on that flat, but I caught them on that. I mean, I catch. Well, my guy calls it a 5-pounder. Obviously, it's a 6-pounder. I go 20 yards, and there's a little stick up in the hydrilla. I throw to the right of it, I catch a 7-pounder, I get it in. I throw to the left of it, I catch one 6-pounder, and I get it in. I mean, it's kind of hard to do no wrong when that's going on. It was just, and I wasn't expecting that, but I knew when I rechecked it the second day, I caught a few back there, but they weren't the big ones. So I was just thinking, the weather. We had those couple warm days, and I pretty much did damage to what had pulled up. And I just knew from history and the comfort level that I have throwing a jerkbait that if I stayed around those rocks, I was going to get my opportunities.
What I just saw a question come across our feed. This was a Megabass 110 +1. What color was it?
Let me get this right because they had to tell me. I think it's called Stained Reaction OB.
Gotcha.
Which means orange belly.
Yep. Which means it looks a lot like a gizzard shad.
It really did. And another key with the gizzard shad thing was early that first morning when I was trying to catch a couple cranking on the rocks, I caught a big gizzard shad. I had snagged it with the crankbait, and prior to me going on that spurt the last day, there were several casts that I made where 4 or 5 gizzard shad came back with my jerkbait to the boat. And that kind of keyed me in, hey, they're going to bite you, just get ready.
That's pretty well. You did it, man. After having that really devastating loss in 2013, you are. I mean, this is the pinnacle, right? This is the Bassmaster Classic. It's the greatest tournament in fishing. This what was that experience like, man? When you finally weighed that fish, they gave you the trophy. Walk us through that. What were your emotions going through that moment?
It was so surreal. It was all the hard work and effort that not just myself, my sponsors that have been with me, my family, all the sacrifices everybody made to get me to that point, all the sacrifices I've made throughout my life, all the right choices I've ever made, all the wrong choices I've ever made me who I am, and it all got me to that point. And it was such a euphoric high, I can't really explain it. I was numb. My arm was hurting when I picked that trophy over my head, but I was so numb. But the greatest part of that was when my son came running up, and my family was out there, and I just looked at him and said, we did it.
How has your life changed since then, Hank?
A little less sleep. But I mean, it hasn't, as of right now, it hasn't really changed. My calendar has gotten substantially busier. It's kind of difficult having to adjust to the schedule now that's being laid upon me. But, I got the chance to go visit with the whole entire 4th grade over at my son's school. I took the trophy over there and saw them first day we were back. They really wanted, they were all pulling for me. And just to know that the community here around Lincoln and Denver, North Carolina, all the kids that I coached in baseball, basketball, all the families I had pulling for me. It was just it's just a good feeling. And I don't know what's to come. You know, I've never experienced this. I probably need to talk to some guys that have been down this road. I look forward to carrying the shield, representing bass. The sport of bass fishing is something that I love and very passionate about. And hopefully with this title and wherever it takes me and whatever I get to do, we get to influence some more people, some more kids into the sport of fishing, and just keep growing the sport.
Well, you're a great representative for the sport, and you've earned that. How many you getting sponsors? You getting like multi-million-dollar contracts thrown at you yet?
No multi-million-dollar contracts thrown at me yet. I have had some people reach out and touch, I guess you would say. But I'm not worried about that right now because we have the season to go. We got Chickamauga coming up, and like I said it before, coming to this classic, what's going to happen is going to happen. I can only control what's in front of me. I tell my son all the time, his only choice in life is how he chooses to react to life. That's the way I'm going to stay, and I'm going to be a gracious, humble winner. Try to do my best at every tournament. If the opportunity comes for other people that want to jump on board with Team Cherry, I'm definitely I'm going to hear everyone out. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, any decisions until I've sat down and thought it all through.
Well, one thing for sure, I know we want to get you at the Bass University classes, and we hope to, we'll talk to you about that. We'd love to have you teach our guys. They need to know the Hank Cherry technique because it's you've got some really unique things, and we'd love to have you come speak for us next year.
Unfortunately, his price went up, but
yeah, but we need 2019 pricing.
Gotcha.
Brian, let's do the trivia question for Hank right now. You want to do that now?
yes, you have it, Pete.
I have that question. I'm going to ask this, and Hank, you're not allowed to answer this, but
Well, I know.
you went wire to wire. Hank went wire to wire in this classic, and it's been a while since somebody went wire to wire. And the question is, when was that? Who was that? And which classic? That's the trivia question. The last person in the Bassmaster Classic to go wire to wire with a W is the question.
Who and when?
Who and when?
Okay, who and when?
Who and when?
And we have another trivia question coming later on in the show that's related to our guest tonight.
Yep.
Hank.
That question comes courtesy of Ken Duke.
Oh, that was Ken Duke?
Yeah, the keeper of the scrolls. And
That guy knows everything.
He's the best.
he is the best. And he he opened up the scrolls and he said, you got to ask Hank this question. And it might be a tough one because when you lost that fish at that previous classic, he asked you at the press conference, he goes, what would you do if you were ever to win a Bassmaster Classic? And you looked at Ken and you said, I would retire. What is Hank Cherry going to do now that he's won the Classic?
Well, that's actually a conversation that my family and I had because I didn't know. I think I put so much emphasis on chasing this guy that I didn't pay attention to everything that was going on around me. And then you start seeing all the messages from the kids, and which I really love children, and what an inspiration I have been to them. And if you want to know the truth, I had that mindset going into this one. Wow. And then my kids weren't very happy about it. My wife wasn't very happy about it when we talked. And she said, just wait till you win and just see how you feel. And when my son, when he came out there on the stage, sorry, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes. And he said, "You did it, Dad." I said, "We did." He said, "But you're not done." And at that point, I knew that there was more to do. I knew that if I was blessed and given this talent to chase these fish around, then I'm not leaving until I'm kicked out or I get assigned that it's time to go. I never really knew how much what I do meant to my family until I got this thing. And it is just, that to me, it's kind of weird to say, but I had a fire before, but now I'm like a damn forest fire. I just can't wait to get to the next one and get it going. I mean, him saying that to me, I am just so rejuvenated and so excited of what this holds that I just am ready to go.
Man, thanks so much for sharing that story with us. It's obviously very emotional and powerful, and you can see how important family is to you. And it reminds me actually of a story that Ike recently had happen, where he was looking at retirement and considering that avenue as well, and it was his family, in particular Becky, who said to him that it's a shame that you want to give this up because you are extremely good at this. You're very talented at this, and that lit a fire in him, that rejuvenated him, and now he's back out on tour with a vengeance, and I could see that's going to happen to you as well.
Yeah, but that was very touching, Hank. As a father myself, I think Pete, we both really could connect with that. That was amazing, dude. Thank you.
People don't see that side of it, and they'll say, "Oh, you can't complain. You get to fish for a living. It's the greatest job in the world." I said, "But yeah, it is. But I'm still human, and I miss a lot."
Yep.
I mean, my son's big into sports, and I miss a lot. I mean, they were celebrating their championship basketball game while we were practicing at Gunnersville, and I'm sitting there, can't think about fishing. I'm wanting to see how the game's going. Because I'll tell you a story real quick. He wanted me to coach basketball because they didn't have enough coaches. So I said, okay. So I drafted a team. I didn't know many of the kids, but I got them together, and we went 0-3. And I told them at the third practice, I said, it's never about where you start. It's where you end. We're not going to lose another game. If you believe me and you believe in each other and we just work hard, we're not going to lose another game. And they really, really blossomed, came together, and they won 9 straight, including the championship.
Wow.
That's an amazing story. How old is your son?
He's 10. And my daughter's 6, and she doesn't really have a sport. She's staring at me right now. She just looked up at me. She's more concerned right now about getting her unicorn room done.
Well, that's equally important. There's no doubt.
There's no doubt about it.
Are your kids into fishing? Do you take them out with you? Do they love it like you do, or where are they at with it right now?
They do some. You want to come say hey?
Yes,
You can get right here and say hey. Come here.
yes,
Come here. Come here. Say hey.
yes,
Say hey. Say hey.
yes.
It's Pete. Say hey. Say hey. Okay, well, go ahead. Let me finish.
Who is the greatest bass fisherman that you know?
That I know.
I was talking to her.
The greatest bass fisherman you know. Me?
Yeah.
All right.
Bella's not too big. Can't hear because of that.
Okay, my name.
Okay, I'll stop saying her name. She's not that much into fishing. Christian definitely likes catching. He's definitely a catcher. If they're biting, he wants to go. He's not. He's kind of. He's just kind of that chase a ball around the yard kid right now. But we really enjoy in the summer and the off time going down to the beach and catching trout and flounder. That's just family time for him. It's just fun just to watch me throw the cast net and catch a net full of mullet to get ready to go out, and we go drown minnows and have a good time. But my dad my dad was my inspiration to fishing. I mean, in my mind, there'll still never be another better fisherman than my dad. The stories, the memories that he gave me, just the little small things that he taught me that gave me the ability to grow from that point are irreplaceable. I still remember, we talk about equipment. I still remember years ago, he had culprit worms had just come out. He had these new fancy true turn hooks. We were at Lake Wiley. And back when I was a kid, Lake Wiley was the place to be because they lived there. And I remember we were in the back of this cut. We just had like a little Eagle bass boat. It was nothing fancy. And he kept hooking all these big fish, but they would straighten his hook out. He couldn't get them in. He couldn't get them in. He couldn't get them in. It lasted all day long, and he never got flustered. He just kept tying on a new one and throwing it out there, and then he finally caught one. And then he would let me cast in there. I didn't get to cast in there while the action was going on. I had to wait till after he bruised them all up, so I didn't catch any. But just memories like that. I remember the engine blowing up and him trolling us back to the ramp, and me taking like a number 10 Rapala and throwing it out of the back of the boat and catching like a 6-pounder trolling on the way to the ramp. I remember one Good Friday, I found a roll of gold strand line in the trash can at the ramp, and I wanted to put it on. He was making fun of me, and at that time I ended up catching 2 of the biggest fish I'd ever caught in my life, like back-to-back 7-pounders on that gold line. Just stuff like that. Fishing trips where we would go and have cookouts and stuff, and I would catch all the white bass or the shell crackers or what to feed everybody. Just so many trips, so much time. It's just that stuff just prospered me to who I am and what I'm about. And I have those same experiences with Christian. I don't push him on him. If he wants to come fishing, we go. If he doesn't, that's great. He just I just want to make sure that he enjoys the outdoors and learns to respect it, I think.
Man, those are priceless moments that you had with your dad, and I know your son's going to feel that same way about you. We've got a winner of the trivia question.
We have a winner of the trivia question. The trivia question was, who was the last Bassmaster Classic winner to go wire to wire and what year? And the answer to that question is Cliff Pace in 2013.
That's the one. That's the one where we had the 7-pounder that got lost right at the trolling motor.
I knew that one.
Winner's name?
The winner's name is Susky G3. Susky
Great
G3,
job.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Please send in your customer number.
Congratulations. You're those moments fishing with your dad. I know, I have a long road, to get to pro, and it's hard. You got to sacrifice a lot. Everybody that's ever done this has done that. When did you know? When did you know that, man, this is my gig? I want to be a professional angler.
If you asked my sisters and if you ask my family, they'd probably tell you I knew it 5 years old. It's consumed me since I was catching brim with crickets with a brim buster off the bank. I mean, it just has consumed every thought. I was always thinking of the next thing, the next way to catch a fish, where I wanted to go, drawing pictures of the boat someday we were going to have. And it's weird to go back and look at that stuff because it's all come to fruition. I joke around and I tell everybody, I played baseball in college and high school, but if we would have had high school fishing and college fishing, I would have never picked up a ball and bat. That never would have happened. I would have been a straight A student and a bass fishing All-American because it's the thing that keeps me going. You have special love for your family, for your kids, for your community. It's a whole different, not that it's anymore, but it's just a whole different feeling about making that cast and feeling something tug on the other end of the line.
I know that feeling, and you've had to go. I mean, I'm sure you didn't come out of this with like, "Hey, Hank, here's $100,000. Go fish the tour." What was that process like for you? Did you have some moments where you're like, you doubted, you like, maybe I need to go back to work? Did you go through that?
Yeah, I went through that. I fished the FOW tour for a couple years. I had some success, but I think I let it go to my head and wasted away opportunities and had to go back to work. And then I was pretty much, my company was bought out and I lost my job. My wife and I about lost everything. I had to go to work for a family friend at Balls Creek Farm and Garden, slinging horse feed, dog food, compost, mulch, anything I could do. I mean, that's just what I was doing. That was my job, to help try to provide. We had to borrow money from family, which if you've ever had to do that, that's not exactly the best feeling in the world. There was a rough, dark time that I didn't know that I would ever fish again. And I kind of hinted that on stage because it wasn't that long ago. From where I was to where I am now, it's just truly an amazing trip that I've been on. And it all came about when a friend asked me, his name's Craig Chambers, to go fish the first inaugural Oakley Big Bass on Lake Norman. And I told him, I said, okay, I'll go. I still didn't have much fishing stuff at that time because my friends, a lot of people didn't know, but I had to sell a lot of it just to try to make ends meet. And lo and behold, I won the tournament and I won a boat. So I had a boat again.
Holy smokes.
Still had the same job. I asked my wife, because we were getting close to stable, if I could fish the Open for 2 years. And she said, yeah. And I said, if I don't make it, then I just don't make it. It's not supposed to be that way. It's not my path. I'll figure out my journey, whatever it is. And the first year was a lot of big learning curve. I think I finished like 40th in the points. And then the beginning of the second year, I got a job with National Republic, which was being a liquor broker for the northwestern part of North Carolina, which is a really good paying job, really stable, what I'd been needing. But they graciously let me fish that last year like I wanted to, and came down to the last tournament at Smith Lake. And on the final day, I won that event by 1 ounce. And that put me into the Classic, that put me into the Elites, and that pretty much catapulted my career from right then.
Wow.
And then to make it even scarier, I was contemplating, do you go, do you not go? Do you go, do you not go? I had to talk with my wife. We got to do this as a family. We've got to do it. So we do it, and I'm fishing a local tournament the next day. The phone rings, and it's a picture of a pregnancy test, and number 2 is on the way. Oh, man. It was really, really I remember just dropping my rod on the deck and had no thoughts. But like I said, you come forth now and look, and everybody's good and healthy and happy, and we've come a long way, and we're a strong family through all the ups and downs and issues that we've had to fight through, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's an amazing story. So much had to go right. If you don't win that tournament, maybe you're not sitting here right now. Or you don't win that boat, maybe you're not sitting here right now.
If I don't win it, if I don't win either one of them, I'm not here right now.
Whew. Man, it's amazing sport, but you got to have the passion, and you do. And I was watching a Zona interview, or it was Zona was talking with Rick Clunn, or actually it was Davey talking with him, and Rick was talking about the money and how that was never the driving force for him. And he had a story just like yours, that he had to sell his last deer rifle to get to the Classic. I think in '76 that he won. And and he had to put it in hock to get the money to go. So it's amazing. We've all been down that road. I ran out of money 3 times fishing out on tour, and a lot of people don't know that's part of it. But it's clear that you've been down the road. You've earned every bit of this, and one of the things I just want to thank you for this, because we've known each other a little bit to say hi and shake hands, but man, I feel like I definitely got to know you a lot better, and I know the bass fishing world has gotten to know you a lot better. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Not an issue.
We got any? We're going to do another trivia question. We're going to let Hank go.
We're done with the trivia questions. Rich, do you have anything on the message board?
Just a whole lot of congratulations, and
Yeah.
people loving hearing your story, and the way that you speak and deliver it is just outstanding. It's so real. It's just incredible.
Well, it's everybody. A couple people have told me, like, you need to write a book. We need to make a movie.
Yeah, stunt double.
I'm like-
Yeah, Woody Harrelson can play you.
Yeah, there you go. Woody I can't tell you how many times I heard that this past week. Has anybody ever told you? I was like, 15 times today. 15 times today. 15 times today. But, and Zona hit off on it the other night when he was talking at the Champions Toast or whatnot, and he was talking about, that I intimidate him, or I'm just scary to be around. Look, that's not me. I'm quiet. I'll do just about anything for anybody. I like to pay attention and just watch and soak things in. I think that's the way you really find out the true character of people, by watching how they act. But, fishing the past 2 years, especially going into this year, I can't express how happy I am with the camaraderie of the competitors and the respectfulness that most of them have for everybody. And that's something to say a lot about a new cast of characters that are trying to carry on the torch. And a field full of very, very good competitors that a lot of people don't know about yet, but I promise you they're going to. They are more than willing and capable. Some guys do some amazing things. I've learned a lot from people, just like I said, simple conversation. I've learned a few tricks of the trade with chatterbait from Paul, this, that, or the other. I got a kid traveling with me this year, destined to marry, and I think he is going to be one super stick one of these days. When he figures it out, he is going to be a very good guy. But I can't get off here without giving thanks to all the people that have been trying to beat my brains in for the last 30 years on Lake Norman and the Winter Trail.
It's a tough crew.
We have by far an area full of hammers. Some of the guys that could fish professionally chose not to for whatever reason, but we have by far one of the toughest areas to come fish. And when you show up here, you better be ready to bring it, because those guys bring their best shot every single weekend. And we're out there all winter long, whether it's 70 degrees or 20 degrees. They show up. We're fishing in the sleet, the rain, the snow. And I really think having to compete against these guys all these years has made me the angler that I am now.
Right on, man. I love it.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
it. Shout out to Carolina Elite Series.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Well, man, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. It was awesome. I'm honored to know you, and I appreciate and congratulate you for a great win. And we're going to be pulling for you. We're going to be watching you. You got something, BTC?
Yeah, go ahead with your closing, but as we pan out, Hank, I'd love for you to turn the computer towards the trophy and give us a full frontal.
Yeah, we've only got a side shot. There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Let's go.
There she is, baby.
The classic trophy and the classic champ, guys. Man, it's awesome. This is 2020 Bassmaster Classic Champ, Hank Cherry. Thank you, buddy.
Woo! Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Hank, man.
That was incredible. Man, we learned so much. We learned so much about Hank and the classic and how to win it.
Dude, that was honestly my favorite BU thus far. Seriously.
Yeah,
It was heavy.
That was heavy. That
was good.
yeah, that was good on every
That
level.
was damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just see the emotion pour out of him, and it, and that only can happen from somebody
Yeah.
that has been through
Yeah.
what he's been through.
Yeah.
To be able to be down there and having to win, to continue, having to get your family behind you at your deepest, darkest moment to keep going. That's
what's
how
real.
you build a champion.
That's what's real, and you're only going to get that with so many guys when they win these big kind of events where you're going to see all that raw emotion come out. And honestly, for the longevity of the sport as well, and just growing this thing that we love, that's what people are going to be drawn to is seeing a guy that just leaves it all out there, pours his heart out, wears his emotions on his sleeve, and on all aspects. It's just incredible.
what a great story, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't be happier for him.
No, I couldn't. We all couldn't, and I know the people at home are feeling the same way we do. And it was an honor to have that interview and
Indeed.
learn all those things. And we've got a lot more Bash U coming up, guys.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to be talking now. We've talked with the champ, and now we're gonna take some time. We're going to talk with GDP about what it took for him to get there, making his first classic, which just happened.
Yes.
And we're so glad to have you in studio while it's all still fresh and
Yeah.
before you get on to the next derby and we get all distracted. So we're gonna take a quick break, Brian.
Yes, we are.
We're gonna take a quick break. If you guys are watching over on Facebook, like it, share it for us. Go ahead and click those buttons. We're going to put you in a contest to where we win about $60 gift pack of Bash U swag. And even better yet, go over to bashu.tv and subscribe. We got our 50/50, 50 days free or $50 off for an annual. It's an amazing deal. It's our best deal, and it's going on right now. For those of you that might be listening to this in post-production over on iTunes, I want to give you the code BASSULIVE30. And that's going to get you 30 days free if you're listening to this way past post-production. So, guys, thanks for joining us. Come back with some more questions. We're going to be talking with GDP. We got a lot more to come. And what are we showing on this break, Brian?
We've got some commercial spots.
We're
We're going to run some commercial spots. We'll come back in a little bit and show the teaser for the Bass U bucket list.
We have the Bass U bucket list, which is a brand new production that we did. We think you're going to like it, and we're going to be showing that teaser in the next part of the show. So come back. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back with some Bass U TV live.
The micro jig rod from Cashin is not only a micro jig rod, it also works great for shaky heads, also works great for wacky worms, also works great for smaller finesse style swim baits. So 7 foot 1 inch, medium action, fast taper. You want a workhorse spinning rod, you might want to look at the micro jig rod. I got one, and then I had to end up getting 3 or 4. So the micro jig rod by Cashin, your next workhorse in your spinning rods.
Every moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil. Gotta keep the rust off all these baits. WD-40.
Keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Peter, we're back. Greg, pick it up.
Yo, yo, yo.
Pete's pouring himself a cough medicine.
And we are back. Thanks for everybody that watched the first segment.
Yes.
Here is the Dean.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite one we've done here
By far.
Yeah, that was great. You know, it was so great to catch them, you know, just fresh off of the wind. Every emotion still pouring out of them as it should be. Now it's all pouring out of us.
I would hate to be Greg right now and have to follow that up. So, Greg, how was your classic?
It was okay. It was average.
how was the most amazing week of your life? Your first classic experience.
Well.
Try to match that.
It was about $290,000 short of his.
Yeah, I saw that, man. We 13 G's you popped for your finish.
There you go.
Not too
There you
bad.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay some gas bills.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Man, you know, like I said before, you know, there's only been 600 and change people, and this is, again, the keeper of the scrolls that gives us this info.
Keeper of the scrolls.
The 600 plus people that have ever qualified for a Bassmaster Classic, and you were one.
Yeah.
You were one of them.
Hopefully keeping it going.
You will. You will.
I think so. Well, you work so hard, and you know, I know you've got to, you know, you qualified for the elites twice.
Yeah.
And you qualified so early your first time out of the gate.
Yeah.
And then you had to put the work in to get
time.
back inside.
Big time. It's tough, man. And, you know, listening to Hank's story about, you know, how he did it and all that good stuff, you only win at this level when you're mastering something. And that's just what he did this week. You know, that's honestly what it comes down to, man. It's all the years of hard work Hank put into it to lead up to this moment.
And all the losses.
Yep.
And I tell you, the losses are so important. Like when he lost that Classic, he probably wouldn't have won this tournament had he not lost the Classic the way he did. The losses, and in any sport, you know, I see this, you can learn more from your losses than you can from your wins a lot of times.
100%.
Hate to lose more than you love to win.
Right. And
it's a tough comparison, but really, I mean, that sting of losing is I don't know. It hangs on for a long time. So
my wife told I have something that I have to go through after every tournament, and it takes me about 3 days to get out of the funk because you know, I have Tourette's when I come home from a tournament.
Right.
I'm so mad. I'm so sad. I'm depressed. If I didn't win, and even when you do win, the rarities when that happens, you still, as a competitor, you torture yourself. You're like, well, you know, I won by 5 pounds. I should have won by 10. I should have won by more. I made an error. I should have, you know, I could have been more efficient. But it takes me coming home from an event. It takes me at least 3 days before I can collect my head, my thoughts, and I can think straight. Yeah. It's this sport, man.
It's a heavy one.
It is because most sports, like even you're a boxer, it happens and it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you gotta keep your intensity for 3 to 4 days, 8 to 10 hours a day.
And you're alone.
You're alone. No coach.
You just brought in an analogy there about boxing, and in the gym that I have trained at for years, and there's a lot of
boxing.
There's a lot of professionals that train out of the same gym as me, and I never did any of that. I just did it for physical fitness and sparring and all that stuff. But I tell those guys a lot. I'm like, I respect what you guys do in the ring so immensely because, believe it or not, there's something I can compare it to. When you're in the ring, you learn to rely on yourself. There's nobody else that you can rely on. When you're on the front deck of the boat and you're in a tournament, you're relying on yourself.
Yep.
Those decisions that you make in that moment directly affect the outcome of your tournament. And in a lot of ways, they're the same. And I'm going to go fanboy a little bit here if I have a minute. I got to say that, Greg, seeing you in that tournament this week was so sick. Like, I was so pumped to see you at media day and see you catching them because like, you're the first guy that I've competed with on a local level to like get there. Like Mike did all his stuff way before I was even tuned in to what was going on. And as soon as I got into this fishing thing, immediately you can tell who the movers and shakers are, and you're like, who are the guys that are you're fishing against every week.
Yeah.
And to see you out there and doing it, it's like you fucking made it. Like it's awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Man. I really do. That's awesome.
So that was great, and we were all so proud of you. And thanks again for the great plug for Bass University. But what was that like for you? I mean, this is a whole different tournament. You've got practice way out in front of the tournament. Your family's coming there, sponsorships, pressure. How did you navigate all that stuff? What was that like for you?
Well, to be honest with you, I think I deal with pressure really, really good. I think I strive on pressure. Thomas Allen pulled me aside and asked me, when we came into the actual, not the media day, but we came into the auditorium to kind of, get all of our sponsor stuff, all the freebie stuff. Thomas Allen pulled me aside and he said, you're one of the only guys walking in here that's not big-eyed, just blown away by all this stuff. And I said, Thomas,
wow, that says a lot.
Yeah, and I said, to be honest with you, man, I strive on this stuff. I hate sitting still. I like doing stuff, and just the more you throw at me, the more that I like it.
Right.
So I kind of never once felt the feeling of overwhelmment or spinning out. I've never felt that in a tournament, especially for the Classic.
Focused.
I wanted it. Yeah, I was ready to fish, man.
Yeah.
In practice, I was ready. I had everything prepared.
Right.
I really, truly did.
That's awesome. And I mean, for me,
and you knew it too. At
Yeah.
media day. You knew it. I could feel it.
Yeah.
Well, my first Classic, I was a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was afraid to come across the stage without fish. We had to go to media event, and I'm like, this is a foreign thing to me, and that really spun me out a little bit, I gotta say. And at the time, I didn't think it did. I'm like, I got this under control. I'm trying to win this tournament, trying to make go down there, but I had the demons creeping in. And what was it like for you when you're at media event? Everybody's asking you questions. That had to be a great sensation.
When I was in high school and there was a microphone around, I could not wait to get my hands on it. That's how high school was for
No
me.
kidding.
Yeah, it was always that way. We had the thing called Mr. Millville. I just couldn't wait to get on stage and do it. And it was kind of the same for media day. When guys came around, like I was waiting for them to come.
Right.
It wasn't more or less like I was nervous about what I was going to say. I just say what I think.
Yeah.
Just let it flow. And dude, it was cool.
Well, I think we're going to have to change GDP to Mr. Millville.
I like it. I like it a lot. Awesome.
I don't know. Mike Trout might contend for that.
Yeah.
He might. Well, it's Mr. August.
Are you the
also.
second most famous guy in Millville now?
According to Ike, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Trout might have a couple more followers.
Just a couple. Not many.
Not many.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's early.
Yes,
It's early.
it is early.
Give
It's
it
early.
time.
Yeah.
This is only the first classic. So you sail through Media Day with, and for those of you that have never been to a classic, Media Day is a scenario where all the pros are in their boats, and the media, every major publication, anybody that's in the media, most of it of course online these days, they get a chance to. They actually have to schedule time with guys, and they get to interview you and take pictures, for their various outlets. So that's what goes on Media Day. It takes a couple hours, and for me, I remember thinking, I just, I don't mind Media Day, but I just want to get back to my gear. I want to get back to thinking about this tournament. And George Cochran's phrase always ringing in my ear: "Do not forget that there's a tournament going on." Mm-hmm. And so I think it bothered me. It always bothered me as a competitor, that I just wanted to keep focused. And but you're done that, right?
Yeah.
Now you get to focus. And are you sleeping the night before your first classic?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like for a regular season elite event, I think I'm so excited that I normally just don't even sleep during practice. But for the classic, I slept. Like when I hit the pillow, I went to bed.
You were at peace in the chaos.
I was. When Rich showed up, all my tackle was done on my boat. I had it all done before Media Day. I was ready.
Wow.
Like I was ready to get this thing on because. So what had happened was our actual tournament, the water muddied up. So on our Monday, Tuesday day off, and then Wednesday back again on the water, we had a ton of rain on Monday and Tuesday. And Wednesday, and I pulled back into that spot. It was fine. So I was like, I don't care what conditions we get. I think it's going to hold up.
Right.
And then it got mudded up. But I made a lot of adjustments in the tournament off the fly, just off of what I saw to catch what I caught. Yep.
Well, before that, because I want to know those adjustments.
Yep.
But takeoff.
Yep.
Here you go. Is it the coolest thing in the world? You get like Greg De Palma, boat number,
I don't think
like Mr. Millville.
I don't think I don't think I've ever been more awake that time in the morning. We had an hour and a half drive, and it was just like, every day my alarm goes off at 3:30. I was up at 3:20.
Yeah,
I was getting up before it was going off, and this was every day with no sleep. As far as like no sleep, 3 hours a night I was getting because the time we got back, time I had to get up in the morning, it didn't matter. It's just like Hank said. Everything you've done to this point led to this moment. Mm-hmm. And as a competitor and as somebody that's passionate, man, it just doesn't. Nothing can affect you. You just go. It's go time.
Right.
There's no way other than say it, but it's just ready. Let's rock.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's what I felt most comfortable, honestly, for me as a competitor, is once I made a cast. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, all right, I could just shake it all off, everything that was bothering me or distracting me, and now I'm focused. You're focused on a creek that was clear, and now it's muddy.
Yes.
What are you doing?
So I spent about an hour maybe before I caught a fish, the very first fish. So as soon as I pulled in, I obviously noticed as I'm driving, as I get past Browns Creek Bridge, I can start to see the water changing color as I'm coming in. And, I'm still thinking I could probably still catch them as I'm getting back there. I came off a pad. I mean, the visibility was like less than an inch. It was horrible. And it was really green and beautiful water prior to that. So I get in there. I set up on the waypoint on the grass, and I could still see some fish on my 360 in the grass. I could still see white dots in the openings.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
I could still see them in there, so I'm like, okay, they're still here. So I tried everything I possibly could, a big spinnerbait, a chatterbait, to try to get a bite out of them. Mm-hmm. I could not get it to happen. So as I was coming in on pad, I've noticed way off to the right, way off the spot, there was one small section of cleaner looking water. Mm-hmm. So I start trolling motoring off my waypoints, and I'm trolling motoring that way, and I finally get to the clean water, and I catch a 3.5 right away, and I'm like, oh my God, it's about to go down. I go down a little more, I catch a 6.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I literally throw like one more cast and I catch another keeper. And I'm like, I look at my marshal and I'm like, I just freaking found them again. Because get this, in practice, once I found them fish, I combed the entire area to make sure that I had every single spot in there figured out as far as where the fish were in the grass. Okay? And in practice, they literally were only in that one spot, and that was it. So once I moved over to that clean water and I got bit again, I thought to myself, they all came over to the clean water. So I only ended up getting 4 fish out of there. There were 4 fish for 15 and change. They were good ones.
That was smoke because it was tough. I mean, this was a tough Guntersville, and Guntersville often fishes really, really well in cold conditions. Yep. But it challenged the field. So 4 fish for 15 pounds, it had you in striking distance.
Yeah, and I didn't know. You know, I knew the practice was like so tough for everybody as far as the practice as a whole. We had, I can't remember one event where we've had these kind of weather changes in the course of, well, you know, the Classic spread out 7 days. From our first official practice was super cold. Midweek for the Wednesday practice, it got to the 70s, and then it fell back on its face again, and it was 2 days post-frontal for the first day of the tournament. So we had like literally really, really bad conditions. And we had falling water, and that probably is what helped Hank a little bit.
Right,
You know, we had falling water, and we had a crazy amount of wind, which was going with the current, which probably funneled a lot more fish to where Hank was actually fishing at. There was a lot to it. But anyway, so day 1, I go ahead and do that. Day 2, I obviously try to go duplicate it. Day 2, I go in there, and the whole side where I caught him at is all mud now. The whole thing is mud. So I run around and had some other stuff in Seabold, and it just wasn't happening. I had about an hour and a half, 2 hours left. I'm like, I'm going back to that spot. I ran back to that spot. Now when I'm coming in, I see a small circle on the left-hand side of clean water. So I just turn the boat, and I go right for it.
Don't even hit the juice.
Nope.
Right for the clear
I go
water.
right for the clear water.
That's a veteran move.
Yeah, so I go right for the clear water instantly. I catch 11-4 out of it, and I lost a 5 or 6. I had 4 fish for 11-4. I had a 5 or 6 to the boat, and it came off, which would have been massive for day 2 because the bite got tougher.
Yep.
So I'm thinking to myself, all right, now day 3, I'm going to run right to the clean water. So day 3, I run right in there. Now the whole entire thing is mud.
Right.
The whole thing just completely changed. So I ran back to my Seabold stuff, did not catch them. And then I go back in there again, and there was one little itty-bitty small section, and one of the other competitors was dead on it. And the person that was on it was doing really well in the tournament, so I tried to keep my distance.
Right.
You know, even though that was the spot. So I go in there and I catch.
Who was it?
Todd Alton.
Todd. He finished second in the tournament.
Yep.
Come on, Mr. Millville was on that spot.
Yeah, it's it's a tough thing. I would have needed probably 40+ pounds to come back and win this thing. Todd was in contention to win.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep my distance the best I could.
Right.
But I caught 3 or 4 fish out of there the last hour or last 2 hours up until I ended up leaving, and it was a bad move on my part because Micah Frazier also found the same fish. Micah Frazier in the very last hour went to the muddy water. He caught 18 pounds. They bit.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. So I get back and I get back to the ramp, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there. I see a bait go, and it flew right into my boat. And it was Micah Frazier casting the boat. And he goes, "Dude, they bit the last hour. I caught 18, 19 off of it." I said, "No way."
Yep.
But they were there. I mean, I could just see them. I just couldn't get in the bite.
Do you think? Because I think I've seen this before, where it turns muddy.
Yep.
But now this is the 3rd day of muddy water.
Yep. I tried.
They adjusted to it.
I fished it. Me and Micah fished side by side the 3rd day for probably 3 hours in there.
Yeah.
And never had a bite either of us.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It
It's
just was the
afternoon
end of the day when the water maybe they stopped pulling and it settled a hair more. It might have changed color a tiny bit, but he got him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, all right. You were day 3. I mean, you made it, right? You didn't win the tournament, and honestly, it's the Classic is winner take all. It really is, and
there was a lot of time in the Classic where every day that was my mentality. When it wasn't fishing right where I was, that was my mentality. I recorded the entire Classic. I had somebody follow me around and tape the whole entire thing. Dude, if I saw something where I thought I could even possibly catch a big fish, I stopped on it because I just had that mentality of, dude, this is the Classic. There's no points. Just try to catch bigs. Like that's what I tried to do. So I ran a lot of different stuff.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. And it's definitely, it's so hard to have that mentality and throw it away, because it's the classic. It's what you got to do. So you fished a really good tournament against a great field of anglers, and you beat most of them. Mm-hmm. You finished ahead of most of them. Take me through this. Take all of us through this. You're pulling in to the stadium at the Bassmasters Classic.
Yep.
Tell me about that experience coming in there, seeing all those fans and going through that way, and Mercer's there. How cool was that?
Well, there was a couple of things, man. So as you come into the actual auditorium before you come through the actual sheet hanging down, I came into the auditorium and Chris Bose is there. That's the person I met that gave you the weigh-in bag. So it was almost full circle for me.
Shout out to Chris Bose, Open Director.
The reason is because Chris Bose, for the last 13 years, was my tournament director in the Bassmaster Opens. So when I saw Chris when I first pulled in, I smiled because, man, it's Chris Bose. It's a guy that I've spent a ton of time with. So that was special. And then there was right before you actually pull out and they pull you in, there's a second of briefness just by yourself. And right before I went in there, I don't think my heart has ever raced ever like it did. And I was just sitting there, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, Greg, I said, every opportunity you ever got or missed has brought you here. All my sacrifice for my family also and for myself has led to this point. And it's just like I feel so incredibly special because I know how many guys have tried and spent their lifetime trying to do this, and I have the opportunity. And I was grateful, 100% grateful.
That's amazing way to feel, and now you're stepping up on stage.
Yep.
And Mercer's getting the crowd behind. You got family in the stands.
Yep.
Take us through that.
The family was so loud at one point. Mercer asked me a question, and I had no idea what he said. I had to make him repeat the question for me.
Really?
Yep.
No kidding.
It was special, dude.
Did everybody from Millville show up?
Just about.
The mayor?
The 2002 class, all Mr. Millville came. Yeah. Just about. There's probably 200 people there.
Wow.
I don't know about that, maybe, but there was a lot. There's probably close to that.
Man, that's so awesome.
It was stupid good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're staring at all these guys, and, I'm sure you didn't want it to end up there.
No, I didn't. I wanted to do day 4 if I could, but,
wouldn't that be cool?
At a date at a tournament. But, it's crazy. And I want to talk about one thing, how I actually practiced as far as baits go, too. And I'll give you guys a small tip in what I do. Probably not a lot of guys do this. So the majority of the fish that I actually caught in the tournament all came on a lipless. One of the biggest things that I do in practice is with my lipless, I take the hooks off it in practice, and it's not for not hooking fish. That's not why I'm doing it. I don't want to
take them totally off. Or
totally
you just
off.
Fold them? Wow, and it doesn't affect the action of the bait.
Not at all. And one thing it does big time when you're practicing. So just a lipless, nothing crazy, half ounce. Here, look how shoot up that thing is. That's from the tournament. So
allow me to see that.
Yeah. So when you take the hooks off of it, this is what it does. It allows you to get a lot more bites in practice, not landing fish, but getting bites. Because what's the one thing that happens when you're fishing grass with a trap? It gets clogged up, right?
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. A lot of times when you pump it through, you're getting the bites. But a lot of times with a trap, even when it has no hooks on it, you're still getting hung up. But when you pump it through, it comes right through. So I was getting a lot of bites periodically all through Gunnersville.
Oh,
what do you want me to do here?
Hold it right there in front of that camera right there.
Oh, that one right there?
Yep.
So, this one has hooks on it, but I always,
Right there on the piece of paper where your pen is.
Oh, now I get it. Yeah. Everybody's lying to me. Everybody see it? It's just a red eye, natural shad. And the reason I went natural shad, too, is because I was snagging shad in there. And they were the exact same color. So I opted not to throw red.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the guys, and heard
I was
Hank
just going to
say-
ask you that question. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the color I went with. It's one of my favorite colors to throw anywhere.
What color is it?
It's called natural shad.
Natural shad.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to throw your traps in grass if you're practicing.
And it's a red eye, right?
Yeah, it was.
It's half chewed.
Yeah, one of the eyes fell off and they kept biting this side more than that side. Then both sides fell off and they bit both sides really good. I'm just kidding. So anyway, so you want to throw your traps in the grass when you're practicing with no hooks on it because you're going to get a lot more bites because of that because you're not getting snagged up in grass and you're not getting half your casts taken away. when I'm throwing it with no hooks on it, I can still bump it through the grass and pop it and still get them reaction strikes, but I'm getting a lot more fishing time with the trap because there's no hooks on it, if that makes sense to you, in grass.
What worries me is you're getting more vibration out of it with no hooks.
But it's
you're-
still showing me the fish are there.
Yeah. But then when you put the hooks on it, it acts differently, and you do get,
it does
you know,
act differently, but it's just, to me, it's more or less locating at this point in practice. So that's why I generally try to throw without hooks on it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What then? People at home probably think you're crazy, right? What does it feel like when you get a strike with no hooks? Do they hold on to it for a long time? Do they blow it right out? What's that process like?
So this is pretty much what it's like. So once I found these fish, the second day of practice, I found these fish. I made one fast pass through it, and I literally landed 10 fish. I took the hooks off. Later in the day, I went back. I counted 27. I shook off fishing really fast. I had one whoop it so hard, I bent down and picked up a trap with hooks on it and threw it in there, and it was a 6-something.
Wow.
And it totally knocked 10 feet of slack in it. You can literally tell. They don't spit them out. It's like a jig. When they bite it with no hooks on it, they will swim around until you pull it out of their mouth.
Wow.
Every one of them.
That's so cool.
I had some in practice that there was this one fish in particular. I have no idea how big it was. I bet you it swam 150, 200 feet with the trap in its mouth before it spit it out, and I was pulling on it.
Wow.
I don't know how big it was, but it was big.
People listening at home, like, they fish so hard just to get a bite.
Yeah.
And you're fishing a bait without hooks.
Well, I'm telling you, I've never told anybody this. It's a great way to locate fish without hooks if you're trying to locate. It's a really good practice thing for sure. And
I could see the efficiency, man.
Dude, it
shows
goes
you where
through
they're
the
at.
grass like no other with no hooks on it.
Wow, it's
pretty cool.
That's a really, really cool tip.
Yep.
I got a question on the board for you from New York Chris, and he wants to know, how bad do you want to get back there right now?
To Guntersville?
Just into the Classic in general.
The Classic in general. Honestly, the Elite Series is probably going to feel a little bit different now because that stage was so big, and the Elite Series now doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't compare to it, but it's different. It's how hard, man, and everything I got in me wants to get back.
Yeah, don't have that letdown.
I don't want to have the letdown.
It's
That's why I didn't want to say
it's like
it wrong.
a fighter that comes off a title fight.
Yep.
And then loses his next 2 or 3, next couple fights. He was a contender. He was right there. He was knocking on the door.
Yep.
But then everything after that's a letdown.
Well, I'll just
what I
win
mean?
Chickamauga, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, just win that shit.
That's
Greg,
a good comparison. I like that.
If there's one thing you could have done different this week in the Classic, what would that be? That question's from Gary Ring on the message board. Gary,
Man,
Ring,
what a
congrats.
great question. What adjustment didn't you make there? Are you pounding yourself about?
Yeah, what are you most kicking yourself in the ass for?
I'm
Gary.
In all honesty, I haven't thought about it because I don't feel like I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think I fished really good. I lost some fish in the tournament that would have helped me, but I don't think there's any other way that I could have caught them. I really don't. I don't think I made any wrong moves.
That's good that you're not beating yourself
No,
up.
not at all. I never even lost sleep over this Classic as far as.
That's amazing because
Yeah.
I know myself and some other people that.
Yeah,
dude, I always tell myself, coming into this event, there's two things. Number one, no matter how it went, I'm fishing the Classic. And number two, when I got into day 3, I made day 3.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to be mad about.
It's
for you, man.
interesting you say that, and I'm glad you feel that way. But there's a lot of tournaments that I've done average or poorly in that I feel like I fished perfect. I feel like I practiced to the best of my capabilities, and I patterned, and I wasn't on the right fish, or I just didn't. I fished really, really well and didn't do it. Then there's other tournaments where I've top 10'd and I feel like I screwed it all up. I feel like I've missed the opportunity to win. Yeah. So every tournament's an individual.
Yeah.
And this is one that obviously you feel like you unfortunately the conditions really hurt you.
Yes.
Yep. But it hurt everybody.
A lot of guys. You heard a lot of guys talking about my area cleaned up today and they caught them. So it happened to a lot of guys. This could have been a completely different turnout.
Right.
For anybody if it didn't happen that way. But, dude, it's meant to be what happened.
I think you should have gone down to Honeycomb Creek.
Yeah. That's, what's funny? Honeycomb is the only creek I did not go in.
It's all the way down by the dam, and I just like it down there. I've fished tournaments down there and done pretty good in the past.
That's funny.
And I was listening to the boys at Bassmaster Live, and Z was saying that there's no competitors in Honeycomb Creek.
Wow.
There's not one boat down there on day one or day two, and I just like that place. It's like every place on Gunnersville. There's so many great places, and when they start moving up, that's one of the places that they'll pull in and
nobody
smash them.
Nobody ran up to the headwater, right?
Nobody ran up to the headwater. That's right, because
we had Saltzman, Ryan Saltzman, who's a guide down there.
Yeah,
and Riz be fished with him the day after.
He be fished with him.
Yeah, you be fished. Where'd you be fished?
We be fished at Pickwick.
Pickwick Dam.
Risby caught him.
Risby caught him.
Yeah,
holla.
Yeah, you fished in Lake Pickwick at the base of the Wilson Dam.
Yeah, at the base of the dam, throwing for us, for my consideration, big swim baits. They were almost 6-inch swim baits.
Right.
And I'm used to throwing 3 3s.
Yeah.
We were throwing big swim baits on like 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce heads, rolling it through that current, like rock, bumping the rocks, and the smallmouth would just flick, and they'd load up.
Yeah,
that was it, huh? Just a flick.
Yep.
Just a flick.
He makes those baits himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
True bass swim baits. If you're looking for an awesome hollow body swim bait, check out True Bass swim baits made by Ryan Saltzman. He's a guide. He throws them and they work.
Ryan visited with us at the Classic, and he showed us all the baits, the heads, how he does it, how he rigs it. We filmed all that stuff. You got to see, because it's a hollow belly swim bait that he makes that his rigging system is just flawless. Like he gets them perfect every time. Sometimes you can't make it straight or wobbles. Yeah. But amazing stuff. Fishes in the tail races.
Yeah.
And that tail race bite was going on the whole week.
Yeah.
And nobody in the Classic ran up to the tail races on Lake Gunnersville to fish that pattern.
According to him on Pickwick, it's kind of like just getting go. It was just starting to get going when we were there. They needed it to be just a few degrees warmer for it to really, really get right and fire. But you could tell that when we were up there, multiple boats kept coming up and checking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Seeing what was going on. So you could tell that it's an area that it's a deal. It's gonna happen here pretty soon. Yeah. And also, I was on the boat with Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush. Being on the boat with two guys that are also guides. That's always a great experience. I mean, both you guys sitting at the table, you're guides. You go through the same experiences they do, and I always like picking the brains of that. So it's a pretty good experience.
Did you outfish them?
I'm not gonna say it, Rich. I'm saying something. I brought a little bit of Jersey to to what we were doing. I got a little deal that we call swim bait church with the way that I fish a swim bait, a little bit like a jig. And when things were slow, that got us a few bites in areas that they weren't expecting us to get bites. Nice. So it was fun. It was fun. It was a great time.
Very, very good. Yeah.
I got another question from the board for both you guys.
Okay.
There's a red chatterbait craze going on right now. Question from Prince Lures is:
Hi, what's up, Prince?
Are you guys buying into the red chatterbait craze that people are paying $100 for the fire crawl jackhammers right now?
How much will they pay for a red brake blade? Get at me.
Brake blade?
Blake braid.
What's that?
It's a jackal.
Ah, you got that?
I might.
You might.
I might have a few.
I saw your stash. That's right. I remember that now.
That's right.
Well, it's funny because we were going out to Texas and red, rattle traps. That was like the deal. Red lipless for 20 years, back in the day. And we all had red. We thought the same thing, man. We're gonna get red spinnerbait skirts, red swim baits, red everything, and we kind of struggled with it. But I want to give a little shout out.
Pete's red treble hook
to Epic Eric. And Epic Eric came out on a trip with me on the Chesapeake with some red vibrating jigs. And this must have been 5, 6, 7 years ago.
How about it?
And smashed them up good on the red.
Eric's always ahead of the times.
Yeah,
he's a tinkerer.
Yeah. He's a big time tinkerer.
Oh,
and
yeah. He's a bait nut.
Yep. And so here's the deal. It's like, man, I believe there's something about red. You throw it on the beds, you have red and it helps you. You have the red lipless baits. why not have a red lipless or vibrating jig? And all, if that color is going to trigger strikes in a lipless bait, I think it'll trigger strikes equally well. We've seen guys do it at the Classic.
Red square bills,
DT6 in demon color. Come on, right? And
so to give a little teaser, we're talking about we're looking at doing another show in a few weeks here. We'd like to, if things work out, and that just might be the topic of discussion is just red in general, and again, it may have started with the red lipless, but you see it expanding. Another thing I saw a lot on media day on the competitors' boats, and maybe it didn't play in the event, but I saw a lot of red hollow bodies.
Yeah,
red hollow bodies
I saw
with
some
an
of that
underspin.
too. Yeah.
I saw a fair amount of it that surprised me because I'd never really seen that before. So you see it again in the chatterbait or the lipless or vibrating jig now, and then again in hollow bellies and some other applications. So why not?
Yeah, I mean, I bought into it. I got a bunch of them on my boat. I got red chatterbaits. I tried them all for the event in practice.
Greg, I'm gonna need one.
Yeah, I got a lot of them. I just didn't. I think SFT still got a ton of them too. Actually,
Like the fire orange looking ones.
I got them both. I got the red and the orange ones.
Really?
Yep.
How did they get them?
How did they get them?
No, I mean, how can people get them?
Yeah, you guys can go to Susquehanna. It's sfttackle.com. I'm almost positive they got them because they have all the Fritz flat sides. Like they have them all. Still.
What?
Yeah.
They have them?
Really?
They got a lot of them.
Dude, they're sold out everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sfttackle.com.
Yeah.
And if you guys enter GDP 10 bass, you'll get a discount.
Sweet.
Wait, say that again.
GDP 10 bass.
Okay.
GDP 10 bass.
Yep.
We sat with David Fritz, and he.
You know what? I got one more thing to bring up. And Zoggy here just reminded us.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pete, give
pattern?
me 1 second.
Zagby
So
snaggy.
this happened yesterday. So we were out here on the lake, right? We came back, set up the studio from the equipment was all down at the Classic. Me and Rich and intern Zog. Come over here, Zog. Take that headset off. We went out on the lake for a little bit.
Snaggy zaggy.
Did a little fishing. I just threw a bunch of rods in the boat. The lake out there is 3 feet deep with a muddy bottom, maybe 4 feet. I had a 1/4 ounce Binsky on in red. It just happened to be. It's not even a good bait for out there because of the the mucky bottom.
Black Death.
Yeah, Black Death. Homeboy here picks up the Binsky, the blade bait, and just fires it out and starts straight reeling it. First cast, catches a largemouth. I'm like, you did not catch that reeling that straight in. The thing ate it. Proceeds in the next hour that we fished to get 7 bites. We're talking about 2 bass, one of them a 4-pounder, a pickerel, couple perch, crappie, or perch, 2 crappie, and a freaking catfish. 7 bites.
But only one of them actually bit it.
2 of them bit it. A largemouth and a pickerel. The other 5 snagged in the dorsal fin.
Good fight.
Well, see, I was talking to you about this.
How do you have that much of a success ratio of snagging them in the back?
Yeah, were they actually biting it and turning around and getting snagged? Do you
I was
think?
getting a little tick, and then I was just winging it, and every time right into their backs.
That little tick was you hitting the fish in the back.
Yeah, it wasn't snagging them in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
It was
snagging them.
damn in the back.
Yeah. Because
So-
we were around them.
So you're saying with tough conditions, throw a blade bait.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just snag 'em.
We
Just
were
throw
around
treble
them.
hook.
You
I know
know what I
some
mean?
guys.
Out there, places got them. So we kind of figured out where they were, where the bites were, and Snaggy Zaggy just fired out that blade bait.
I think that's a legal catch.
Even a catfish.
It is if you can't say
Yeah,
it.
you even snagged a damn catfish.
Who
That's
caught
a good one.
Who caught the most bass?
Snaggy. Oh.
No, he got the most weight because he got a damn 4-pounder in the back.
That's sweet.
I caught 2 largemouth legally. He caught
Yeah.
one and snagged the other one.
I've actually caught fish that way. They will bite it, just reeling it in.
Oh.
It vibrates just like a lipless bait
Super
does.
tight.
It has the same, but it's silent, right? It doesn't have the rattles. And I've tried it. I've tried that often, actually, to catch fish.
The dumbest fish in the
consistently.
lake has got to eat something.
Yeah, but
And that's what happened
yeah.
yesterday.
I found it to be low percentage, but I've never snagged any with it. So
Yeah. Well,
You guys-
if you're ever not on them and you're fishing in 3 feet or less of water,
Binsky.
just fire out a blade bait.
Yeah.
Just straight reel
Yep,
it.
just straight reel it.
Or a treble
The
hook.
key is to throw with 3 inches of Black Death on the treble hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even clear the
Don't
snot
take it
off
off.
the hooks.
Wow, looks all natural.
All natural.
Shout out to Zach. He's talking to you over there on Facebook and YouTube, and trying to get to all you guys. So that's the man behind the scenes. Thank you, Zach.
No problem.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Snaggy Zaggy.
Snaggy Zag.
Well,
All right,
he's
Peter.
perfect for snagging. He's like 7'2".
This is true.
You know,
Lots of leverage.
big wingspan.
That's right.
And I can't even remember what I was going to talk about.
He's related to a McGraw.
Yeah, we were going to talk about the classic content that we got at the classic, maybe.
Oh, Fritz
Fritz
side.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Fritz side
I think
crankbait
Dunbar.
has won 3 professional tournaments this year.
What?
No.
Yeah, and it's a silent bait. It's downsized. It's a little bit smaller than your normal bait in that size. He's weighted it. Just lots of strategy behind it. And what was really the most and we're going to release this on Bash TV, but Fritz is like the enthusiasm. Like he turns into a 10-year-old kid once you start talking about crankbaits.
I know he does.
Yep. He's been doing this for 100 years. He's won the classic. He's won AOY. And you start talking about crankbaits with that guy, and he lights up like a candle. And Pat Renwick, shout out to Pat and Stray Cast.
Yep.
He was there with me, and him and I were just psyched just talking to David, just an iconic man in the sport.
We got 21 different interviews at the Classic that will be released in the coming weeks on Bass U TV with a lot of awesome guys. One I'm really excited for, Brent Erler.
Yeah,
been trying to get Brent. I'm a big fan of Brent Erler. I think he's amazing.
Ayler.
Amazing.
Brian,
Ayler.
what's your pickup line to get these guys in? What do you say?
I don't know, just me, dude.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yo.
Hey, man.
Hey, text me back or I'm gonna bust your balls on social media.
Hey, yeah.
I'm a bully you on cyberbully you.
It's like some whiskey. You can come over to the booth.
We have beer in our booth.
Yeah, and a couch.
Beer works for some. That's why we got Gussie over there.
Yep.
So we got Gussie. We got.
It was great talking to Gussie, the first Canadian that we've had face to face.
I believe so. Yeah, for Bass U. Yep.
Yep.
Tried to get the Johnson brothers. They're a little edgy. You know what I mean? Got to keep Stormtrooper around when they come.
Yeah.
They're big fan.
Gussie was talking about the power of the marabou jig.
Yeah.
And how to fish that. Really some inside stuff. So all that stuff, we're going to be releasing all that stuff through Bashy TV, and you guys know, but all that stuff is coming. What a great classic that we had down there.
I think besides the first classic, man, this is probably the biggest classic in history.
Well, it was the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's 50 classics.
This was the one to win.
Yeah.
Never be forgotten.
It won't. And this is where it started.
Yep.
A big shout out to Bassmaster, to Ray Scott, to Bob Cobb, to Have the Vision, Helen Sevier, Jerry McInnes, powerful forces in the Bassmaster world that brought this amazing sport that we all dream about and have sacrificed so much and love every minute of it. I go back to the Rick Clunn interview that the guys at Bassmaster Live did, and he talked about the importance of Jerry McInnes being such a big influence because up until that point there were times and moments where bass fishing was like hokey. It was not cool.
Yeah,
and Jerry influenced the group to have your boats wrapped, to look professional, to have your logos, to kind of be more like a NASCAR, kind of be more professional, be prepared for interviews and the importance of television and all that stuff. And it was interesting to me to hear Rick, express how important that was, because now it's big time.
Oh yeah, huge. It's everything.
Yeah,
it's how we make our money.
Yeah,
Hey, since we're on this real quick, we're talking about stuff. I gotta give a shout out to somebody, Kelly. If you're watching, Kel, just comment in, dude. She did so much for me last week as far as just making sure I had to do nothing besides fish.
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
That was
shout
huge.
out to Kelly.
Round of applause.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kel.
Good job,
Hats
Kelly.
off. Big fan.
You gotta have that.
Brian's a bigger fan than I am, I think.
Hey, don't worry about it. Big fan of another member of your family. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg's got a new member of his family that we just discovered. He's got a sister.
I have a sister.
Oh my gosh.
How long have you had that?
I've had her, I think it's been 17 years.
17 years?
Yeah.
What?
My stepsister.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Not
okay.
my real sister.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we're the same age. She's 37.
okay.
Well,
Yep.
she looks fucking 27, so
Yeah.
holla.
Simmer down there, BT.
Yeah, easy
Does
over
she,
there.
Does she like old married guys?
Oh my
does,
God.
actually.
I'm kidding.
She does.
Oh my God.
She's on social media. Hit her up.
Oh
No,
man.
I'm good. She
Here we
seemed like
go.
a nice lady.
Don't listen, Heather.
Just jokes, everybody.
It's not jokes.
Just jokes, Kel.
That's great that you have that kind of support, and you need that. Honestly, I mean, you need help. I know. I've had people help me. I know Ike has had Uncle Don that has always been there, and to have somebody there that can really help you.
It makes a difference.
Yeah,
Big time.
because there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
There's so many distractions.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Kel.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. I just
Thanks,
got a
Kel.
message. Maybe it was her.
Well, it was a great experience. Thanks for sharing it with us. Is there any more IMs before we move on? And I know we got another trivia question.
We got a trivia question, and then we're going to hit we're going to see the little teaser for the BU bucket list.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
You want to
right.
get you want to get the trivia question out there before we go to
Yeah.
the teaser, because it may take a little bit for them to get the answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian. You hit him with the trivia.
All right. I don't know where the hell it is.
This also comes from the keeper of the scrolls.
No, this was
Shout out to
mine.
Ken Duke.
This comes from BTC original.
Well, I'm still shouting out to Ken Duke and Fishing
Yeah.
Tackle Retailer.
Yeah, give me a minute to find it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got another trivia question, and then
All right, you know what? I know it. In 2013,
again.
In 2013, Hank Cherry, we watched him lose, and we showed the clip earlier. We watched him lose that winning fish on a jerkbait. What jerkbait was that?
Ooh. I know the answer to that question.
I know because Brian told me.
That's right.
And guys, we're coming up. We have a brand new, teaser, teaser of our new show that we're going to be releasing on the 18th of March, and it's called The Bucket List. And just give you a little background on the bucket list. It's we've traveled around to some of the greatest lakes in the country, and we've fished them with the guys that cut their teeth fishing those bodies of water. One big fish in those bodies of water. And we're real excited to launch these, because the first one that we're going to launch we did with Ike, and we did it on Lake Champlain, and it was an amazing experience. We went back, because a lot of people, like, they'll say, well, Mike's won so darn much. He's won the national championship. He's won the classic Angler of the Year. But just like what Hank went through, you had to win. Something had to happen to catapult you to the next level. And for Mike, it was winning on Lake Champlain. Because he doesn't win that tournament, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows if he gets enough sponsorship, if he gets enough winnings, if funding to continue to fish. There's so many factors that can come into play. But he did. He won it. And we went back and we revisited the exact spots where he won and fished them together.
That's special.
It was special for me, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy the show.
We have a winner
Already.
We have a winner. Yep. Wow. Mr. Gary Ring. Mr. Gary Ring got with the correct answer with a Lucky Craft Stacy.
Yeah.
Lucky Craft Stacy was the correct answer. Congratulations, Gary Ring. You just won yourself a Rapala Times Bass University official gear prize pack.
Excellent. And that'll be sure, I hope to have a shadow wrap in it, which is way better than a Stacy.
Oh, yeah.
Just so you know.
That shadow wrap's a bad.
I wonder if Ken Duke would have got that answer.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That was a good one, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Where'd you find that answer?
Hank Cherry.
Hank.
That's the
I
person
said,
to
"Go,
ask.
Hank."
Yep. It's funny. I was talking to Ken, and we were talking about trivia possibility questions, and he's just rattling off stuff from 2013. and it flows. I don't know where he keeps it all. It's like I don't know how he fits anything else in there.
Right.
He's got all bass fishing knowledge, just occupying most space.
Well,
but hey, why don't Brian? Are you ready to cue it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna cue it up, and I'll cue this up, and then Rich Zog, our Facebook like and share winner, pick that, John. Yep.
All right,
and we'll try to announce it here, but I'm gonna play this, dude. I'll go play this, and we're gonna watch this thing together because I haven't seen it yet.
Outstanding.
Oh,
so without further ado, we have the Bass University bucket list.
All right, where we at?
Here we go.
Bass University TV presents The Bucket List.
Good Lord, look at the size of this.
An original multi-part series.
Look at that!
Hosted by Pete Gluzek.
Giant largemouth.
The first time I fished Lake Chickamauga was probably in the early 90s. We have a giant largemouth bass that live here.
Pro angler guests and local experts show us their favorite places to fish in the country.
I'm gonna go over some of the things that I've learned through the years on how to get in these areas.
You'll learn amazing fishing techniques.
And that's why you don't want to be afraid to go as far as you can go. You're welcome, Bass University.
Oh, man. Oh.
Episode 1 features Lake Champlain, a small and giant largemouth bass hotbed. Surrounded by the beautiful Adirondack Mountains, Mike Iaconelli takes us around the lake.
Another one.
Showing us his favorite spots to fish.
Big, oh God, a big giant largemouth. Look at that big giant. Wow.
That's the ultimate goal, is to let the fit tell you what to do.
And the techniques he uses to catch the monsters.
Under these dark conditions, you want contrast or brightness.
He also gets up close and personal, explaining his history with the lake and why it means so much to him.
Dude, we are just out from where I won the Bassmaster Top 150 back in '99.
20th anniversary.
Dude, 20th anniversary. I could see the spot I fished right there.
It's an epic, action-packed educational episode that you don't want to miss.
Where else in the country can you catch a 4-pound smallmouth and a 4-pound largemouth on back-to-back casts? You can't do it anywhere else except Lake Champlain.
Bass University TV's The Bucket List. Available exclusively at bassu.tv. See why these places should be on your fishing bucket list.
Isn't that incredible? Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Wow.
Wow.
Fired up.
Look at that. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. That's a beautiful. All right. We enjoyed it. You know, we enjoyed putting it together. We it was really cool for me. Like we went back to those spots where Ike won. I got to talk to him about the importance of that win in his career. The interviews were amazing. Wesley Strader, we're down there at Chickamauga talking with him, and he tells a story about his grandfather and how his grandfather, taught him some lessons that oh my gosh, it just gets you choked up just listening to him.
Yeah.
But and Wesley's so fun. But it's just
Wes is awesome.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. We're going to launch the first episode on March 18th, and we're going to launch them every week until we're out. And then
how many we got?
And we're got 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
4 to 5 right now on our first season, and lots more to come. So hope you guys like it.
And our Facebook like and share winner is Carl Hampel.
Carl Hampel.
Carl Hampel.
All right.
Rich,
You get a
got
T-shirt. You get a face shield. You get a rod sleeve, a Bass University rod sleeve, 2 Bass University hats. You are hooked up.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Throw the rod sleeve in there. Pete just called it.
I call it.
You're getting a rod sleeve, baby.
You now get a rod sleeve.
From Rod Warriors, rod
Phil
sleeve.
Hampel.
Yep.
Carl Hampel. That's right.
Hey, well, it was a great show. Did we have anything outstanding, Brian?
Hank Cherry was outstanding.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate all you guys watching. Hank, thank you very much for sharing your story. It was a memorable event, probably one of the most memorable here at Bass UTV.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude. I'm very happy for him.
Yep. Thank you for sharing your story, GDP.
Yep. My man.
Let's go. Into many, many more.
Many more.
Thank you, Kelly, for taking care of him.
Yep.
Kelly.
And
thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for all the guys on our IM board and watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Zog. Appreciate your help. And
saggy.
And thank you guys, BTC and the Riz. We look for more fishing the Riz tour. And we got to talk about this because it was pretty awesome. Is we had the boat build. The Ike Live BTC boat build as the studio centerpiece for the Bassmaster Classic, and I gotta say, it was a smash hit.
It was a smash hit. It was so questionable if it was going to work, how it was going to work.
Can it
Should
fit?
we do it?
Yeah.
Will it fit?
Yep.
That booth would not have been the same without it.
Yep.
It crushed. It was really, really cool. I mean, we're talking about an 87 tracker. You know what I mean? This boat was beat up. You know, it was just a South Jersey stump jumper. You know what I mean? We rebuilt the thing and kind of pimped it out and said, "Hey, let's bring it down there." And it was awesome. It was an awesome platform to film from. And and we did 21 Bass University pieces. We got 9 Ike Live interviews, and the Ike Live interviews are all going up today. Yep.
Right, Zach?
Right, Zach?
Did you buy that boat from Fat Cat Newton? 87.
87.
Yeah.
It might have been 88.
Oh.
No, I bought it from Tommy Fariello.
Tommy.
Yeah. And no, it was awesome, man. It really, really worked out.
Yeah.
It couldn't have worked out better. We got some dynamite content down there. Awesome Bass U pieces. Really, really fun Ike Live stuff. Like each day we had kind of a just a melee at the end of the day. Guys rolling in and out. JT Kenny, random people from the crowd, polygraphs, dudes with mullets. You know, Hunter Freeman and some guy with a mullet had a hair off or whatever they did. We had a great time. So all that content's coming up.
And that was great. I didn't know if you know this, but Rick Pierce from Bass Cat Boats was eyeing up the boat.
I
build.
saw him, dude. I saw him come over a couple times, creep on it.
Yeah. He was checking out. He's like, "Whose boat's this, Pete?" You know?
Yeah. What's up, Rick?
He's looking in.
Get at me, Rick.
Yeah, it was a hit. And and shout out to Jeff Olson, who was the steady man behind the camera all week.
Steady Eddie.
Yeah. And actually, he was like, "Oh, man, I don't know how I'm going to frame this. How am I going to make this work? How am I going to make it look?" And he said it came out amazing.
He put some lighting on it. He had some little lighting wizardry he set up, lit that thing up. It looked fantastic. Andy, the Ginger Ninja from Straight Cast.
Thank you, Andy.
Woo, he was huge.
The
man.
best. Yep. Kept us
Big time
smooth.
help. Yep.
He's great producer. Appreciate him
Yep.
for sure. Pat Renwick of Straight Cast, of course,
Money.
for being there. And I want to give a big shout out to the Bass U team who worked tirelessly talking to all the people and working for Bass University to introducing people to the program. None more important than Riz over there behind the mic.
Riz, JK.
Professional fish head, Justin Kimmel, who ran the booth for us and did an amazing job. Mike Reed is one of the greatest. Thank you, Mike. And Snooky was there with us.
Danny Moe
and Dan
Dickie Moe.
Yeah, he came with Pat Renwick, and he was new to the program. We were glad to have him. He really was a great communicator and excellent working with us. So thank you everybody that
The ladies
that
at the Ike
participated.
Foundation were awesome.
Thank you, Jocelyn, in particular, for being such an integral part of helping us put that booth together. And there's so many moving parts to pull something like this off, and everybody played a big role for us. And Becky Iconelli as well. And
That's the boss.
Yeah. She's the boss lady.
She's the boss. When you're playing a video game and you get to the end, it's Becky there. It's Becky you have to defeat to win.
She did a great job keeping us in line and getting us all packed up and out of there. And
Stormtrooper made it.
Yeah, the Stormtrooper. Oh my gosh, how could we forget that? It was great to have Dave on site. He was so helpful in every capacity.
Yep.
And thank you for that. Thank you to Ike.
Yeah.
You know, Ike was able to free his schedule up at 3 o'clock, even though we were expecting him at 12. And
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I got an observation. So the one day, the final day, Mike's supposed to be there, and he's just held up, and he's got lines of people, and he signs everybody's autographs. He's amazing at it. I don't know how he does it.
He's
So I'm like,
tireless. He
he's
stays
tireless.
until the last person gets the autograph.
So I'm
it's
like,
amazing.
I've got to get some Mike Live content, and then I got to shut it down because we got to go. So I set up Fat Cat Newton, JT Kenny, Aaron Martins, and Ott Defoe. And that was my lineup, sitting at this tracker, and hey, guys, let's talk. And we got going, and actually we started, it wasn't Ott Defoe, it was a Stormtrooper. So we got going. It was a little bit, you know what I mean? Stormtrooper, like, all right, come over here. Sit him down, boom. He grabs the microphone. It was the transformation in the conversation. He just jumped in cold and was like, boom, boom, boom.
Awesome.
Dude, he's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with the guy, but it still impresses me to this
Yeah.
day. Run the show. It's pretty amazing.
And his draw is crazy. Like when he's on the mic, the crowd's just, you know, they're bigger. You know, it was fun. And it was awesome.
Simultaneously the most loved and most hated.
Jersey, stand up.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I don't know how him, as always, being part of the program and of course doing such an amazing job for us.
Yes.
When's that?
I have no idea. I'll look at my calendar in the morning.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening this month on a Sunday.
It'll be a Sunday. The next
Yep.
several Ike Lives will be on Sunday nights
Yep.
at 7 o'clock, and we'll be talking about a bunch of great stuff, a bunch of nonsense, and having fun doing it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you so much, Bassmaster, for giving us some clips and information. And thank you, Hank Cherry. Thanks, GDP. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. And thanks to all the sponsors, Cash and Fishing Rods and Rapala and TH Marine and Humminbird and Tackle Warehouse. We appreciate all you guys. And we are going to be back with the new Bass University Live real soon. We'll let you guys know all on social, on the newsletter. Get over to bassu.tv. Right now, it's still going on for about another week, guys. $50 off, 50 days free. So if you haven't done it, take advantage of it. It's good for about one more week. So get yourself signed up. Come on over, join the family, and see what we got going on over here. I think you're really going to like it. It's going to make you a better angler. Guys, have a great night. Thanks for being here. I'm Pete Gluzak, Bass U TV.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
You will learn things at Bass U that you will learn nowhere else.
And we help you build confidence with new techniques. We take the mystery and the myths out of bass fishing.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
We teach you to enjoy bass fishing.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.